the 11th, 2025. Before proceeding, I'd like to take just a moment to recognize Mr. John Frampton. Mr. Frampton, if you'll stand, who joins us this evening as our parliamentarian. Mr. Frampton is a distinguished legal professional with over 4 decades of experience serving, particularly in the area of public meeting proceedings, with deep knowledge of Robert's Rules of Order. A summa cum laude graduate, he was inducted into the prestigious Order of Wig and Robe Honor Society and served as the attorney for Dorchester County since 1989. So welcome, Mr. Frampton. Thank you. And Mr. Johnson, it's your turn to stand. We want to recognize you and thank you for having served as our parliamentarian and look forward to you continuing as our interim general counsel for our governing body.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a much better parliamentarian.
Well,
Actually, John and I were in the same law school class.
oh, okay. But no collusion. No. I would like to move to adopt the agenda with the following corrections of 5A, 5B, 5C, and 5D to be moved to other business, as such is their designation rather than policy. Is there a second?
Miss Bailey, I was going to second, but Miss Bailey beat me to it.
Ms. Bailey, thank you.
I apologize. Over the raw meetings, I'm going to be voice voting if that's what's required.
Are we going to try our electronic vote, Ms. Bowles? Okay.
I'm now in.
And we are grateful that this is trial at a committee meeting and not the board meeting. Ms. Bailey. Yes. So please cast your vote. I think it showed a tally, but it went away very quickly. Was it 8-0?
We're all learning something new tonight. Nope.
No, we cannot see. I see. But I caught a quick glimpse.
Show voting.
Should it show up on there is what you're saying?
Oh, I have to click on it to see it. Thank you, Mr. Grabowski.
Unanimous.
And the motion carries unanimously. We will move on to agenda item 2A, the superintendent's report. Ms. Huggins.
Thank you, Mrs. McKinney, and welcome to a new year, trustees. Thank you for your patience with us. Diligent system here. We hope that we'll have it up and everyone will be proficient by the next meeting of the board for its business. So thank you again. Andy, tonight's superintendent's report is a little more lengthy than typical reports because we wanted to make sure you as the board are ready to kick off the new year with us. And so you'll see at your seats a lapel pin that all of our chiefs have, all of our attendees have. Some of you got when you attended the educator symposium or the Great Teachers, Great Leaders. And I want to thank you for being there. And you'll also see a card for me and then a blank note card. This is You Make a Difference. And so we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the focus of the year for our system and think about how you as trustees partner with us and kids and principals and teachers and leaders to really take this system to the next degree. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the Charleston Educator Symposium. Several of you were able to attend. I want to thank you for being there. If your schedules didn't permit, I certainly understand. We're all busy. And so Andy's going to go on to the next slide and
Ms. Huggins, while we're in, I just have to say, I like what you've done with the setup.
we've done the best we can. Mrs. Watley, thank you for the positive feedback.
It reminds me of the new setup for audit.
For audit and
finance.
finance, yes, ma'am. It does mirror that a little more.
It gives a little bit more intimacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this first video, again, it's about 1.5 minutes, I think, Andy, and it just showcases some of the work at the Charleston Educator Symposium, and it shares with you the theme of 212, and it's narrated by two of our own students, a Malcolm C. Hersey third grader, Melania Fortuna, and a seventh grader at SOA, Harry Smith. So with that, Andy, take it away. I didn't mean to make it 212 degrees in here today, but our theme is how we get to 212. How do we get that extra degree to really propel the district forward? And it's going to take, in my language, outside of the box thinking, but George is going to talk to you about doing innovative things inside the box.
Just watching you and Anita bragged on you so much, and I was like, oh my God, these people are absolutely amazing. And I'm thinking about, does the rest of the world know? Does the rest of the world know how incredibly gifted this community is that you're here? And the things that you see every day, I'm going to be honest with you, you're probably numb to it. You see it every single day. You still need to share it, because what is normal to you would be mind-blowing to the rest of the world in your own community. You need to share your stories, because there are no better people to have that impact on education than the people in this room.
Thank you for all that you do to invest in the students of Charleston County, because the way that I see it, and I know you agree, there are no South Carolina students, New Jersey, Tennessee, California students. Every single student in a public school in this country belongs to all of us. So I thank you for your work, and thank you for allowing me to be here today.
So 1 degree, extra effort can change the trajectory for a kid's life.
At 211 degrees, water is hot.
Useful, yes, but just one more degree.
At 212 degrees, water boils. And with boiling water comes steam.
And steam can power a locomotive. That's the power of just one extra degree.
In education, in our schools, in our district, that one extra degree can be just as powerful.
It's the extra minute spent reviewing a math problem, the kind word or hug at the start of a day, or simply sharing your belief and encouragement with a student who has stopped believing in themselves.
At 211 degrees, you are doing good work. But at 212, you spark something more in us.
That 1 degree more creates confidence, builds connection, and changes outcomes for us.
The difference between hot and unstoppable
is just 1 degree.
So this is really the focus and the theme for our year. We feel like we're on an upward trajectory in Charleston County, and a lot of that is due to the support that the board has rendered the district, its teachers, its leaders, and we're really excited to share with you some powerful things tonight that we're doing here. And we launched this at our Charleston Educator Symposium. The next slide will sort of overview for you. We had nearly 900 attendees, 156 different sessions. It was the most that we ever offered to focus on the specific needs, all aligned with the district priorities. So there wasn't a hodgepodge of things. There were hundreds of submissions for presentations. We were very strategic about which presentations that we selected for our audience to consume. Our highest demand topics are listed here: bridging language and literacy gaps, led by Dr. Rush and her team; all things accountability, led by Mrs. Roberts, ironically, and her team; preparing CCSD for the AI era, which was co-facilitated by our academics and our IT team; security and emergency management, that's pretty clear, Mr. Reinbach; Canva, simple discipline, the guide to understanding the discipline hearing process, led by Dr. Coakley and her team; and ClassLink. On day 3 of the event, We allowed school teams to plan collaboratively around the new priorities for the year. And of course, you heard at least two of the keynotes were pretty inspiring. I was inspired, and we were grateful that people maintained their interest, and we got a lot of great feedback. At the end of the sessions, we asked our attendees to tell us what they were going to do to take their work and their position in their school the extra degree. And tonight, and as we proceed through this presentation, I'd like you to think about, as a trustee, what you plan to do to take your service as an elected official the extra degree for kids, because that's what this work is all about. Then right after the symposium, Andy, we went on to Great Teachers, Great Leaders. If you back up one slide, I think that you all probably were well prepared for tonight. So we got a lot of really great feedback. We take that feedback seriously. We'll use it to improve our sessions for next year, and you can read that on your own. But just the next week, we went from one event to the very next, welcoming all new employees to the district. You'll see here another short video to talk about Great Teachers, Great Leaders.
Great Teachers, Great Leaders is today's event, and it's actually a two-day event. Yesterday, all of these teachers that are new hires to the district, so they might be brand new to teaching, straight out of college, or they may be veteran teachers who are coming from out of state, or they may be coming from a different district within South Carolina, but they're just new to Charleston County. So both groups are here today. And yesterday, they spent the day at their schools and learned more about the specifics within their building and acclimating themselves. Then we all come together today to learn about the priorities. So we have our three key priorities that Superintendent Huggins is focused on for the year, and we want to make sure that we give them a snapshot of that too. We have 29 different departments or vendors here, and they are different folks that are helping to support various aspects of their education. So hopefully by going to these tables and meeting these different exhibitors and department leads, they're going to make those connections and be able to get contact information for each individual department that might be relevant for them.
So this isn't an event. This is an extravaganza. I mean, this is huge. You know, every time you walk, you just see a different element, a new element, new element. And you just really feel like, you know, in coming here, you feel like they want you to be here, like you feel welcome.
Wow, it's a lot of great people that I've met so far. I mean, I'm just starting. It's just my second full day. And everybody's super friendly. The vibe is really good. There's a lot of excitement, and I'm really looking forward to working and making a difference here.
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's a great initiative that the district does, and it just allows, especially an outside teacher from out of state coming into a new world and a new culture and community, just to have that exposure as well.
It's really nice to be able to walk in the first day of school and know who a couple of people, they might have a couple of familiar faces that they've met at this event, or make some connections, because it's also just a networking event where they can meet like people across the district, whether it's another elementary person or another high school person or another science person, or fill in the blank, whatever their role might be. And it helps them to make that connection. They also know what the district is rooted in for the year and what we're focusing on for the year, so that that's not new too. So this is learning that piece. And then the content piece comes within the next week, and then learning their building specific requirements, expectations, needs, and meeting their students and serving their families.
So we were in back-to-back events 2 weeks in a row. Really exciting time to see new people to the district at this super event. Just so you know, we hired about 160 induction teachers. That means brand new baby teachers to the district this year. When I was managing teacher evaluation, that was like 450. And so the number of brand new teachers that we're welcoming to the district is less and less each year. We're retaining more teachers in the system, and we're proud of that. But we really wanted to ensure alignment from the Educator Symposium to Great Teachers, Great Leaders. Day one, teachers spent at their school and were immersed in the culture of their schools. And day two, they spent it with us, Dr. Temples, Doctors Temple were able to be there with us throughout the day and see the things that our teachers did. Again, the same sessions, the same sorts of training, so that everyone is aligned and moving the system forward and focusing on that one extra degree. Over the course of the few days, Andy, the message from me was consistent. The district, we'll go on to the next slide, Andy. The district has done a lot of really, really great work, but we've still got a lot of work to do. So we celebrated the things that we've done well, but we really focused more importantly on what our priorities are for the new year and how we, again, are going to take it to the next degree to really elevate the achievement of students. Last year, we reviewed this, 55 of our schools and programs rated excellent or good. We do believe that will increase. And when we get our report cards October 15th, Cary-O was named a Palmetto's Finest. We had 2 National Blue Ribbon schools in Buste and Academic Magnet. 747 students earned the seal of biliteracy, representing 12 different languages, which is significant for this system. We opened the International Welcome Center, and again, thanks to your vision and that of our CHRO, our CFO, and our senior team, and all those represented here, we raised starting teacher salaries really to the highest in the Southeast. The closest, I think, is Atlanta Public Schools, which requires more days of teachers and a little less than 62,000. You'll note here some questions. I want to thank trustees who sought some clarity around an image that we shared earlier from Dr. Joanna Gilmore, who is a psychometrician and put together using data from the state how Charleston County fares among 78 other schools and districts in reading and math achievement. You'll see here. Thank you, sir. You'll see here. Let's see if I can. There we go. You'll see here as at the line that moves this way, poverty increases, and this line represents achievement of students. And so again, nearly 80 schools in the district. Charleston is number 7 in reading and math. The closest district like us is Greenville, which I won't say where they were in this list, but not too far behind. And you'll see here that we certainly have districts that are higher poverty, that are higher achieving. But again, look at the student enrollment. Here, the closest district is 11,000. Nearly 5 times less than that in Charleston. Certainly a lot of dynamics here given the diversity of the district. A lot to be proud of here, still a lot of work to do. Similarly, on the next slide, Andy, you'll see the results of math. Again, districts that are achieving a little bit higher with higher poverty, but then you see other districts here, right? Other districts again, lower performance as poverty increases. So that's why we focus so much on this weighted student funding and made sure that we're getting resources into schools and to students that need it the most, including in some of our non-title schools. Andy, we'll go on to the next slide.
This isn't in our slide deck, by the way.
It is not. It's new.
Okay.
It's new. It's not, but we'll make sure you have the new data. Those are the only 2 slides that were added. Just so you know, the specific data around student achievement is embargoed, but we'll share with you tonight that we've got a lot of things to celebrate. Those trustees, Dr. Temple, I think Ms. McKinney, you were there for the keynote. A lot of strong achievement in this district. Again, it's a testament. I'm hooked on my dress, Ms. Simmons. It's a testament to the work that principals and more specifically students are doing with teachers in classrooms. If you'll see here, we expect at least a 5.5% increase in achievement in this district. When we share the results in mid-October, we expect math to be up at least 3 percentage points. Grades 4 and 6 science, Dr. Temple, also up incredibly. Proud of that work. We expect even more so. And around biology, Mr. Moore and his team have a very detailed plan for biology this year. It's the only area we didn't see an increase. It plateaued. Algebra 1 up across the board, English 2 up, a significant increase in U.S. history. We're also really proud that our graduation rate is up to
really more than it's represented here, and we'll share that with you when the results are out final. College and career readiness, 85%. The passing rate on AP exams, that means a 3 or a higher, is 83 percentile. And there were about 700 more exams taken this year. Really a lot of strong work in the system. Work-based learning opportunities up over 300 opportunities for kids, dual credit up, and again, AP exams up across the system. We also expect, as we look into the new year, hope you're able to join us at the 220 press conference tomorrow at St. John's Elementary or Johns Island Elementary School. We'll also share that enrollment is up in our Centers for Advanced Studies between 40 and 45%, which is significant for the system. Along with that, Andy, you've asked about return on investment for the weighted student funding. It's really important to note that represented here are a lot of Black and brown children. The individual pupil counts is about 33,000 represented somewhere in this data with WSF. And I want to thank you for taking a leap of faith with us and investing $32 million last year in WSF. Apparently something worked here, because we see increases in all groups of students, students with disabilities, multilingual learners, and pupils in poverty. A lot of work to do. No one discounts that there's significant work to do. The story to tell is that continuous improvement is happening in this district. Is the testament of teachers and leaders who are focused on kids, and your investment of $36 million this year, we believe will continue to yield this return on investment. You'll see achievement up in grades 3 through 8 ELA, grade 3 through 8 math across all groups. Students with disabilities being the first column, multilinguals the second column, and pupils in poverty the third. We'll also be glad to break down that data for you demographically, because many of your goals are centered around demographic data, but we also see elevations across all racial ethnic groups as well. On to the next slide, Andy. Here are our priorities for the new year, and this is what you can help us focus on as we really try to utilize your meetings to focus on kids and elevating the achievement. Dr. Clamp will go over in just a few minutes a calendar that he created in collaboration with me and Mrs. Roberts on your priorities and how we'll be reporting out on that throughout the year. I want to thank Ms. Lieber for asking questions about that a couple of weeks ago. Our priorities are 3, and we're saying the same thing to everybody. High quality teaching in classrooms that's standards aligned and rigorous for all kids, with the belief that all kids can. High quality standards-based instruction. Number 2, learner-driven evidence-based decision-making based on systems of support and improvement. And number 3, PLCs. We've championed this work for years and will continue to focus on it, as we believe that that is really collaboration, what garners results for kids. Very quickly, I'm not going to go through the other 20-some slides. Andy, you can pause that. As we talked about high quality instruction, we really talked about the most important lever in student achievement is teachers. And we do a lot of work celebrating teachers, but we do a lot of work really developing teachers. The second thing we talked about with folks is relationships. As we think about high quality instruction, kids don't care to learn if they don't know you care a lot of times. So we talked about relationships, and here you see the principal at Stall, who's a TikTok king, doing what he does best, which is, I'm not sure what that is, but I'm going to pretend it's some sort of dance moves. I have him in remediation for that. But you also see Mr. Joyner there at St. John's High School. Again, building relationships with kids. Again, high quality instruction oftentimes is centered around kids knowing that you care about them. And that's what's so important. Andy, the next slide. High expectations, number 3. High quality instruction matters, but it doesn't matter if you don't believe that all kids can. So when we talked to Mr. Brigman about recruitment this year, it was around making sure that we were hiring people who all believed that kids can, regardless of what they look like, regardless of their socioeconomic status, regardless of where they came from. So again, Dr. Temple and Ms. McKinney, I'm sorry to bother you, but this is what we focused on as we talked about high quality instruction. Andy, the last thing here was feedback. When we talk about high quality instruction, It's futile if we're not giving teachers feedback as leaders, if we're not giving principals as feedback as leaders, and if teachers in turn aren't giving feedback to students. That's really important. So that you're aware, in full transparency, we have 21 new principals in this district this year, either in a different place, in a different school. For example, Judy Condon moved to Johns Island Elementary from Angel Oak, and Anna Mims moved to a new setting, or they're new to the principalship or new to Charleston. So 21 of 86 are new. So we've talked a lot with them about feedback and it mattering. We talked also about, for those of you that are avid sports fans, that we've got to come out of the gate tomorrow with these things: relationships, feedback, high expectations, high quality teaching. It doesn't matter about the second half if you don't give 100% oftentimes in the first half, right? You got to give 100% out of the gate for kids. So the first thing, again, there'll be a quiz at the end, high quality instruction. Number 2, Andy, is learner driven, student driven, evidence-based decision making. And that means systems. So again, feedback matters, relationships matter, expectations matter, systems matter in schools. And those of you, Ms. Roberson, Dr. Temple, Ms. Bailey, Ms. McKinney, those of you that have been in schools and served in schools, you know that without systems, things fall apart. So we talked a lot with our principals about universals, but also intervention and remediation as needed. We also talked about improvement, continuous improvement. This system didn't all of a sudden have a group of kids not performing. The lack of achievement in this system has persisted for decades. And so continuous improvement matters. And we talked about that chaos and dysfunction is often doing the same thing over and over, thinking you're going to get a different result without changing. So we can't afford to wait 9 weeks before we change systems if we're not seeing improvement with kids. So again, high quality instruction, learner-driven, evidence-based changes for continuous improvement, and not stopping at good enough. Excellence is built on that little bit of extra effort, and that's what this whole theme about 1 extra degree is about. So lastly, barreling through this slide, are professional learning communities. And around this, we focused, Andy, on number 1, action, being action-oriented. In our system, we talk a lot. We just always have, haven't we, Dr. Temple? We talk about the problem, we admire the problem, but in this system now, results matter, action matters. Do something. If it's not the right thing, fix it. So action, thoughtful action that's garnered in PLCs matter. You'll see there the principals at Deer Park in the middle. That's Brandon Glaze. Leading PLCs, leadership matters. You'll see North Charleston Creative Arts. I think her ELA scores will jump 20-some points, Ms. Roberts. Oh, I'm not supposed to tell that. North Charleston Creative Arts was on the unsatisfactory list. We expected to transition out. And Shakora at the end, one of our elevation schools. Again, consistent improvement around action-oriented outcomes for kids. And Andy, kids matter. Like all systems, sometimes we get bogged down on adult matters. Outcomes for kids don't change until adult behaviors do. And we talked a lot with our leaders about really focusing on kids and not allowing adult challenges to get in the way of doing what we know is best for kids. So our charge to you, board, is to think about, not publicly, and certainly we're not your bosses, but privately, thinking about what your 1 extra degree is. How can you give a little more of yourself? I know a lot of you will be with me tomorrow. If you can get off work and if you can be there, you'll be in schools. I'd invite you to start early in the morning at 5:55. In fact, I'll be on a school campus in the morning with my own children going to school. But think about how you can give a little more of yourself, because it's going to take all of us to really move the system where we are, the highest we've ever been. We won't be satisfied until all kids can. And with that, I'll say we hope you can join us Saturday night for the big kickoff at the Back to School Bash at Credit One Stadium. We'll run a little teaser here, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. McKinney, for questions. Andy, roll 'em.
Hey, CCSD teachers, it's Kiana Parley here from Ranky Tanky. We are super excited to be a part of your back to school bash this year. As a South Carolina native, it means so much to help celebrate the incredible work you do for our students and our communities. We can't wait to bring the soulful sounds and celebration spirit to help you start the school year off right. So I need you guys to do me a big favor. Come ready to relax, connect, and dance because we're bringing the music and you deserve a celebration. See you soon. Peace and blessings.
So we hope you'll join us. There's a spot for you in the VIP section. If you haven't RSVP'd, let us know. We'll make sure you're well taken care of. And with that, Ms. McKinney, lots of things to celebrate, but lots of work to do. We'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions on the report?
Question.
Yes, Mr. Hollenshed.
Like I told you, I'm gonna put this in email form.
Sure.
I got invited to some retired teachers. And
Yeah.
I'm not a teacher, but they bombarded me with questions. But, and I guess this goes along with what you're saying, but, you know, just to give you a snippet of what they were asking.
May I interrupt a minute? Does this have to do with her report? Okay, because I don't want us to offend for you by covering something not on the agenda. Go ahead.
So, and those numbers that you were given, what was the average teacher salary for the 2024 school year? How many students at the end of the year, 2023-24 year, have the MAP scores that indicated that they had a 2 or more grade level behind? So you can't answer that right now, but those are the kind of things that they shot at me.
Yeah, so yeah, if you'll send them to us, we can, Mrs. Roberts has got a lot of data and whatever she can answer for trustees, we're happy to do that. We also have a retired educators advisory group. I'd love for them to come and be part of that. We meet bi-monthly. And so if you want to extend the invitation, I'd love to have them join our group. But we're happy to answer any and all of those questions.
I'll put these in format and email them out tomorrow. And then you can have them, and then if you can get me a response back. This is interesting what they were saying, and they were going back in 2 cycles. So it kind of ties in. So I guess what you're saying, where the numbers are going now,
Yeah.
you know, and what they were telling me, they wanted to know basically where we started at then and where we're at now.
So we're making a lot of improvement. There's still kids that are multiple grade levels behind, perhaps more than 2, and that's sad for all of us. What's key is that the system is improving, and it's improving in some areas at a more significant rate than others, but I'm thrilled with the results in our schools for last year, what we believe we're going to see when it comes out. And our goal again is continuous improvement because we're never going to close the learning gap for kids until they make those small incremental steps. So we're happy to answer them. Probably it won't be within 24 hours because we're going to get school started this week, but we'll get it back to you.
No, I know we got a busy week going, so it's just, they just asked those
It's a
questions.
few things, yes, sir.
They were asking about reading camps and where we're at in the reading camp and how many were promoted. So I put all this into a format and emailed it to you.
Great. The Read to Succeed report is actually on the September agenda. And so we can share what we can share now. We actually talked about that in our Fuel Council today. As we wrapped up, Jamie Costner and Mrs. Simmons are collaborating on that work. So we'll certainly answer whatever we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, please extend an invitation to those retired educators to join us.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions about the report? Ms. Roberson, is that a finger?
That's finger. Thank you. Let me first say thank you for the detailed report. I'm exhausted.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. But let me just say that the folks in my district, they're excited. The energy is alive in District 8. So thank you for that. I have a first and ask.
Yes,
for
please.
next year.
Yeah.
I really would have liked to come, but driving from
I know, it's tough.
Yeah, I'm just being transparent.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
No, but you also, in transparency for the public, were out at the St. Paul's kickoff last week, several back-to-school events. So we knew where you were, but we understand that it's,
That was far.
it was a haul.
Yeah.
One was at Lucy Beckham because of air conditioner and roofs at SOA and West Ashley. So that was our only location. And then the other was at West Ashley the next day for various reasons. But we had to move them for our more central locations because of the size of the crowd, Mrs. Roberson, and some of the construction maintenance going on in the summer. Believe me, we felt your pain. But thank you for that.
And then another ask, I believe you had it on one slide where you showed the actual whole numbers versus the percentage. But then on another slide, you just had the percentages. So
Okay.
would it be possible moving forward on your slides, if you, instead of saying 3.7% increase, could you show what you did on that second slide? It was 42%, and then now it's 52%.
Yeah,
Instead of from where we started to where it is now.
absolutely. I'm sort of walking the line and even sharing some of that early data. To be quite frank, I'm hopeful. But yes, we will, and we will break down each thing for you a whole lot differently as we dive more deeply into the goals around and the sub goals around each of those areas. But tonight we just didn't. Again, we wanted you to have access to what our teachers had on CES and GTGL, but we didn't want to really get too specific.
Yeah. And I think you slipped, but it was a good slip. I heard a double digit in a category.
Yes.
And so I'm looking forward to getting the data once it's released to see how many other categories that we actually had double digits in, because that's going to really help us meet the 2027 vision.
It is.
If
It
we
is.
move from single digits
To double digits. That those double digits are hard, and I'm not making excuses. It's hard, but I think the extra resources with the WSF certainly propel that. You'll see double digit gains in some of the schools out in St. Paul's.
Okay.
North Charleston High School has experienced some double digit gains. So we've seen double digit gains really across the board in elementary, middle, and high. And we're excited to really celebrate with our principals, especially as they kick off the new year.
And my last thing, you don't have to answer now, and maybe, I think we have a one-on-one coming up. I would like to, for you to unpack a little more for me. What does this learner-driven, evidence-based decision making look like?
Yes, absolutely, Ms. Roberson. And for the public, it really looks like that multi-tiered system to support, making sure MTSS, I'll just say as a recovering principal, I believe the single most important system in any school outside of student safety is MTSS, because it ensures, one, we have universals, which are high expectations for all kids, grade level standards, rigorous teaching, a common language, but it also ensures systems for kids who are yellow and red, who need more support. So we can talk about it more in our one-on-one. Thank you for asking that question.
I'd like to say.
Mr. Grabowski, I saw you had a question.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to a problem that we ended the school year with, and that I really, really don't want to see go forward. And I had many mixed feelings on how we resolved it. I don't believe in rewarding bad behavior. And the fact that we were paying at the end of the year to tackle this issue, what I would like to see from the district, some more data from school subgroups on the attendance patterns, so that we can identify where the academic gaps, are linked to chronic absenteeism, truancy, and target resources accordingly.
So it's on the September agenda. We have the data back that I provided to you all in a board update. We have the data back on the correlation between I think you're referring to the incentive program around students and families. So there's a significant increase in student attendance. The results are quite compelling, in fact. Our teams are working on the correlation now between the actual achievement and looking at that carefully over the 9-week period. So Dr. Gilmore, who I believe is on the line, is working with a team to do that now. And again, it's on our board agenda for the September Cal.
Because, I mean, I think the public and parents have to understand, if they're not sitting in that seat, if they're not coming through the door of the school, we can't do anything. So if the parents and the community don't start addressing these adult issues and becoming more parent-driven, we're not going to go anywhere. We have the resources. Your numbers are proving that. Your report proves that. But this absenteeism, that's what I'm going to be focused on this year as we come forward.
I think Dr. Coakley would like to hire you in her office.
I'm there, and by January, I'll be looking for something. But anyway, the other thing, it goes back to this reputation. So I'll be looking for time-bound targets for academic growth, fine. The attendance improvement, but it's the parental engagement so the board can monitor the progress across all communities. Because this isn't not just across the Ravenel issue, it's a problem over, on the other side of the Ravenel Till. So
It's a problem
really
everywhere, Mr. Grabowski. You're spot on. I'll ask Dr. Coakley just to talk a little bit about that.
because we got to start the school year off right. These kids have to be in school. Otherwise, what are we doing?
So thank you so much for bringing it up. And Mr. Grabowski, to your point, I want to make sure that everyone understands that the incentive was one of the additional steps we took. But before the incentives, we were also operating under the truancy hearing panel, which is mandated by the State Department of Education. So families are coming in and they're having those attendance hearings. We also met with the solicitor's office, who is working with us to either do the attendance truancy plan for families, where families have to come into family court. This year was our heaviest year. This past year was the heaviest year that we really started referring families to family court because of that lack of engagement. The schools had already exhausted all efforts in meeting the AIP, which is the attendance intervention plan. The district also hired 2 truancy interventionists that actually is doing door-to-door knocking at homes, sitting with families, creating those AIP plans when schools haven't been able to get the parents to come in. We also have sent other individuals in our department to go out with the truancy interventionists. We've met families either at the school, provided some mediation. And so the attendance incentive actually came from a lot of the feedback we were getting at the truancy hearings. Parents truly didn't have money to wash clothes. They didn't have the ability to actually get their student to school if the student had missed the bus. There was issues around food that, when we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Maslow says if you're not providing the basic essential needs for families, how could they think about education? So the part about the attendance incentive was, how do we remove those barriers to ensure that the excuse for being in school is not around the hierarchy of needs? And that's what we saw some great improvements in with families. So I don't want anyone to think that we were just putting the money out there without using surveys. We did attendance events. We had every high school allowed us at football games to meet with parents, conduct surveys. We collected more data around what else was needed to support families. So I want you to know there was a battery of thought that went into this. And I would like for you all to consider thinking about how we either continue or do something that's going to support those families who are in desperate need.
And Dr. Coakley, that's perfect. I do want the board to understand, and the public, that we've tried everything. We go somewhere and folks say, well, you all shouldn't have done that. These parents need to be held responsible. You need to call law enforcement. Well, is that really going to solve the problem? And yes, we've engaged, as you heard Dr. Coakley, we're working very closely with the sheriff's office, with our local municipalities. And then, we have the other extreme too. So we're trying to figure out what works for kids. And philosophically, we probably all agree we shouldn't have to pay folks to come to school. We shouldn't have to. But the fact of the matter is, we got to do something. And we got to do something differently than we've done, because it's not worked. And so if we want to get results, we're going to have to do some outside the box thinking. And that's why you hired me, and that's why I hired them. So we'll bring you the data, we'll share with you the data, and we'll be very transparent about the data. Again, philosophically, we're probably all aligned. But at the end of the day, it's about going the extra degree, make sure kids have what they need to be successful, including incentivizing them if it takes that. So don't be mad with me, but we'll bring you the data and share it with you. Okay?
Ms. Watley?
I'd like to make a comment on Mr. Grabowski's point and what Ms. Huggins was saying. Oftentimes when this is brought up and the district defends the initiative, one thing that I find that keeps being left out is that Harvard, Stanford, and Dartmouth study that was done, and the key thing they suggested that we target was chronic absenteeism. And it's my understanding that as a result of that study, that's why Ms. Huggins took that initiative and went to try to incentivize attendance rather than chasing the same old, same old.
Yes, you're right, Mrs. Watley. And when we look at a cost, an ROI or cost benefit analysis, we find that, and we've discussed this with Mr. Prentice, that in some ways the attendance incentive program was cheaper than some of the other strategies we implemented, like truancy officers or some, so it's a combination of things. Again, we're not saying it's that we're going to wait to see how it correlates to achievement, and that should be done in the next week or so with Dr. Gilmore and team. But the early indication is that it's one of the most successful things that we've done.
I fully adhere to and believe in tracking cost,
Yes, ma'am.
and especially for your ROI. Although you can't base decisions just on ROI.
That's correct.
But at the same time, the value of hope that maybe we can break a cycle in someone's life. There's a saying in Judaism, if you save one life, you've saved an entire generation. So that's the hope.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I also want to dovetail off of what Ms. Roberson was saying. I would have loved to have been at the educator
We
symposium, but
understand.
just with traffic and it being so far out, hopefully next year it'll be a little bit more centrally located.
We hope so too. We hope so. We don't have anything going on at SOA, do we, Mr. Broey, next summer? Yeah. He always lets me know. I even called Mr. Hamer myself to try to delay some of the painting stuff. But then he didn't have the air conditioner on, so I just dismissed him all in one day. So we hope to be able to move it back to the Bonds Wilson campus next year, Mrs. Watley. We really tried to have it there this year.
Awesome. There was one more thing, but right now it's escaped me. But if it comes back to me, Miss McKinney doesn't mind, it was just one more comment that I wanted to make, but I can't remember. So.
Thank you for the feedback. Thank you.
Ms. Jewett?
I just had one
Yes, ma'am.
follow-up. The slide with the 3 circles of,
Yes,
what our
ma'am.
priorities are for.
Yes, ma'am.
How are we planning on measuring those 3 and addressing that if that's going to be a priority?
That is a great question, Mrs. Jewett. Inevitably, all of our strategies are measured against student outcomes. So we'll monitor student outcomes to determine how effective our school leaders and how effective we are in focusing on high quality instruction, that student-driven, evidence-based process and PLCs. But then we also have specific ways to measure high quality instruction. And that's actually one of the board's interim goals. And I don't know if we've presented on it yet, but we will soon, called the Classroom Walkthrough Tool. We call it CWT. So we measure the effectiveness of instruction with the CWT, and it's based on visits that leaders do to teachers' classrooms and then provide them real-time feedback on what they saw and what opportunities they might have to improve that instruction. So that's how we measure the effectiveness, one of the ways we measure the effectiveness of teaching. In the second area, systems for improvement, we measure those things with the SAM and the TFI, the SAM and the TFI, the Tiered Fidelity Inventory, and the self-assessment measure regarding the self-assessment measure for MTSS. So again, inevitably, we measure everything against student outcomes, but we're also measuring these individual priorities and their effectiveness. The third way PLCs, and again, I'm really glad you asked this, Dr. Williams and Ms. Bates just adapted our GROW system to include a way for leaders to upload evidence regarding PLCs. So our associates, our principal supervisors are working now to ensure that our principals know and our teachers know about how to upload the evidence so that we can assess, but more importantly, figure out how we best support the PLC progress, because you're right. If you're not monitoring these 2 or 3 things, you don't have any quality assurance along the way, and then you find out and it's too late.
Because you might be, have a high achieving school.
Correct.
But there might not be connection there. It may not be the environment.
Exactly, exactly. And so I shouldn't just say achievement, because we also monitor Ms. Jewett with MAP, which gets, and iReady, which really, I think, centers more on what you just suggested, especially in the case of a high achieving school. Because what we're seeing, and this is one of the opportunities we'll share with you, is that our gifted learners are sort of plateauing in the system. So just this weekend, I sent an email to some people around the table that said, here's an issue, and let's meet in 2 weeks and talk about it. And I think we've got a meeting scheduled coming up. But you'll see that. I readily admit that. There's lots of opportunity for growth. But we use MAP too to measure the growth of students along the way, so we can make sure that kids, particularly at that high end, are growing. And we're seeing that as a systemic challenge for us. And so we're monitoring it. It's a great question. Thank you.
Dr. Temple?
Well, I just want to say thank you to the staff and all the presenters. I mean, I have been in this district a long time, and the quality of the CES, the GT, the great teachers, great leaders, the PD that was going on, the quality was just extraordinary. The enthusiasm, the attendance of people, and I'm seeing around this room, all of these people were out there working really, really hard. So thank you for all of that effort. I have so much hope for this year, because of how school has prepared, how the district has worked so hard to prepare people to be ready for tomorrow. And so we
Thank you,
wish
Dr.
tomorrow
Temple.
is just a glorious day.
We're
for our
excited.
students.
It's like Christmas Eve, except we might be here too late for Santa to come. Dr. Temple, we appreciate your support very much.
Ms. Leeper?
Thank you. Ms.
Thank
Huggins,
you,
I am going to share something beautiful that I've shared with you privately, but I'd like to share publicly. I used to work for a number of CEOs in the top 100 of all CEOs, and one of my favorites was Jack Welch. And I am seeing something real and genuine coming out of this school district that all of you guys should be proud of. That educational symposium, my goodness, why didn't I become a teacher? That was
You
that.
still can.
But one of the things that I found amazing about Jack Welch was they shared the same language. And so when you bring teachers and educators together and educate together, they learn the same language. And I love that idea. One just little thing advice is I wanted to see some more vendors there. I think it's
Yes.
important that every vendor, like the navigation center, is there to be there. And I also love the fact that you're building a community within. I think that's super duper important. I will share with you in Boeing, we had an internal Facebook, and that's where we would talk about when you had a specific, we'll just use it, if you're a math teacher, you could
Yes, ma'am.
share on a community-wide some new initiatives and things like that I thought was really good. And it was one of the reasons why I learned so much was through Boeing's outreach. You could become a leader and you didn't have to be in any particular position. Of course, data-driven is awesome. The International Welcome Center, I still want to think about the Welcome Home Center for all families at all grades throughout the entire experience is as as a parent of CCSD. And the little things, one thing for sure, teachers don't take breaks. Okay. And the other two things is, again, I'm just wondering if we haven't already seen this material and it looks reformatted, and I would prefer just about the metrics, about what's being showed. I would prefer that we see it one time until we have new data. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but then I'm still
Can you
looking.
tell me a little bit more about that, Ms.
Well,
Lever?
I just feel like it's like, what's the word, deja vu? Like we saw the metrics as predicted and we still see them as predicted.
Right.
And so
right.
is it because the community needs to see it if they missed it, or is it because
So-
do we need to see that?
So yes, ma'am. So that is the first time we've shown those numbers, but because we showed them with probably like 1,500 people over the course of the last 2 weeks, I wanted to make sure the board saw them too if you weren't at the event. And so those are new numbers that you saw on that one slide. We compiled it because again, I'm really walking a fine line with sharing it. But we could talk more just to make sure I'm getting
Yeah,
it.
and
And sometimes I don't, and I want to
Yeah,
make sure.
and it just, again, the challenge on the calendar, the actual reporting calendar is I want to have, and hopefully the board agrees at some point, is the metrics package a whole year in advance. So we can actually decide what's being presented to us. And
But since the calendar was not in her report, do you have anything else?
No, I mean.
It's coming up, Ms.
Jumped
Lever.
ahead.
Thank you.
It's coming up though.
Jumped ahead.
Ms. Bailey?
Anybody that knows me knows that my motto is teamwork makes the dream work. And as I haven't been able to attend many of the events
We
because of
understand.
work and special events at my job, I want to tell you as I read the emails and I look at the report and I watch what's moving over Charleston County, I am in awe of the teamwork of all the staff, the admin people, the teachers, the assistants, just everybody coming together to make Charleston County School District the best that it can be. And with that being said, I was looking at the highlights. High expectations matters, improvement matters, actions matters, kids matters, and teachers matters. So what I want to know is what is the district going to do for the first quarter or each quarter of this new school year to celebrate the teachers that go above and beyond what's expected of them? I mean, because listen, we can sit here and we can talk, but when you're in a classroom full of children with different personalities and characters, that's a hard thing. And some teachers, they want to do the best that they can, but they get discouraged. And what as a district going to do to uplift and encourage them and celebrate them with the gains that they're going to make?
You know all too well how hard that is, right, Miss Bailey? And it's on tomorrow. In some places as early as 7:05. And that's just a challenge for those of us who have been in classrooms. And so really our principals do a great job at celebrating. And then our associates and our principal supervisors, Dr. Williams has got a unicorn award, right, Dr. Williams? We do various things. And then we do footballs. Dr. Coakley has a lot of awards. Dr. Coakley, go ahead and turn that on and you could talk. And then we have some district-wide acknowledgement. Miss Mills, who's pretending to be busy back there, is really good at celebrating. And if you noticed in my Huggins highlights, you all get those, don't you? So today, we've created a forum where folks can do just that, which is celebrate their peers. And we've already got a flood of people coming in celebrating their peers, what they're doing in their schools to really go that extra degree. And so a lot of the celebrations, we celebrate a lot at the district level because the work is really hard. And the work can get really discouraging. So celebration, when you experience success like the teachers in this district have experienced, is really important. So we'll continue to celebrate. And Saturday night is one such example of a celebration where we're bringing folks together to really kick off the new year in style, and show them how much we appreciate the work that they do. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just wanted to also add
Yes, Dr.
that for
Coakley.
the celebrations, we are going to kick off for this school year. We just submitted the request to comms team on different ways schools can earn points to recognize teachers, families, and students around the attendance incentive, because teachers also have attendance goals for this year. So we're merging all of that under the celebration for even the community to get involved for that engagement piece, where we would go around, celebrate, shout out those educators who, for whatever reason, the administrator has identified can be celebrated when we think about that climate and morale that we're really trying to focus this year on as a system. That's our goal for climate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Coakley.
Ms. Watley, you had a little time left.
Actually, I'll just save it and, I can insert it in the audit and finance.
Ms. Roberson, you had a
Yes.
holdover question?
Yeah, actually, it's just an addition. On one of your slides, you talked about the college and career readiness.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's another category that's college or career ready. And I think that there's two separate categories. So we need to make sure for our public that we are acknowledging both categories separately. We have college and career, students that are college and career ready. We also have students that are college or career ready.
College and
Different,
career.
mhm.
So I'm gonna let Ms. Roberts talk a little bit about how that is framed on the South Carolina report card, Ms. Robertson. Ms. Roberts, Dr. Coakley's got it, or you come up here.
Yeah, I pulled it up and
It's slide 7.
yeah, on the report card, they have two separate categories.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson.
Let me try one more time.
You might have to come up here.
So for the report card, as far as what counts for the ratings or the calculation of ratings, it is college and or career ready. In other words, you can be either college ready or career ready, or it could be both, and you still count as one for that purpose. So that is how the ratings are done. You can look at all that data down as a breakdown and be able to see which students were college ready, which ones were career ready, which ones were both. But again, it's just as long as you meet any of those measures, you're considered in the ratings and calculated as such.
Ms. Huggins, I sent you a text.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Roberson.
Mhm.
Quick question,
Yes, sir.
and you don't have to answer this right now. I'll send in an email form.
Sure.
But you said it's centered around Black and brown children in those areas that are need. I'm just curious, you say you hired 160 new teachers or whatever, 66?
No, we hired this year, Bill, how many new teachers? 461. There are about 166, 170 of them that are brand new
Brand new.
to the profession, induction teachers.
So how many certified teachers would you, and not now, just curious, would you say that of Hispanic or African American descent that are certified?
Mr. Brigman, do you have that? We can get it for you though.
That are certified.
We can get that for you.
Then as principals in those critical areas, like, I'm just using Morningside or Socorro.
Yeah.
How many of those principals there reflect the community that they represent? That was something that was asked to me, and I jotted that down in the note, but that'll be in my email also.
That's great. I can just tell you, Mr. Hollenshed, that, hiring leaders and teachers that look like our community and are reflected in that are really critically important to us. But at the end of the day, we're looking for the best people to be in front of kids all day, every day. That's, so we'll get that info. We'll get your email tomorrow, and our staff will work on it and get it back to you as soon as we can. Thank you for the thoughtful questions and your engagement. I hope to see you tomorrow. You can join me at 5:55. If you want to join me that early, just let me know. If not, I hope to see you all at 2:20. If your schedules permit, I know you have to work. I certainly respect that a lot, but know that you're welcome. Ms.
Thank
McKinney.
you. Thank you. On to item 3, strategic education, Ms. Lieber and staff.
Ms. Higgins will be presenting the monitoring report, the one I spoke earlier about.
That's exactly, Ms. Lieber. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Clamp. As you know, the board has a whole lot of goals, a whole lot of interim goals, and a lot of guardrails. And we are monitoring each and every one of them somehow. We do have thoughtfulness around it, and we've presented to you tonight a calendar of those things so that you can see the schedule. And Dr. Clamp, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you go through those things. Again, we want your time. I think it's at least 75% of your time on the dais to really be focused on kids. That's really important to us. And you can't do that if you aren't seeing student outcome data. So Dr. Clamp, take it away.
Thank you, Ms. Huggins. And tonight we'll present to you some information about the monitoring reports timeline, which is a chance for you as board members to receive and review important information and reports from our staff, our superintendent, our leaders to help progress monitor where we are. And this calendar does, if you'll advance to the next slide, even beyond, you can leave it right there. What is very key for this is it's essential that it serves as a calendar for accountability. It helps hold the system accountable. Board, you help hold yourselves accountable as we monitor our goals. And then it allows us to have thoughtful conversations with principals, with leaders about our progress. And so attached with tonight's presentation is also that calendar, that draft calendar timeline, which really has 4 key attributes. So if you'll advance to the next slide, we'll take a look just to unpack those very quickly. It assures accountability. There's a key focus on our priorities. There's been a question and even a comment tonight about how we facilitate those data-driven decisions. Well, it starts with the collection of current data and then the conversations that we have. That learner-focused is really indicative of who matters behind those numbers, and it is our students. Behind every single group of numbers we have are students that we get to serve. And then ultimately, it creates a space for us with transparency. So tonight, we present this calendar to you for information so that it will help inform what we'll be presenting to you monthly. And also a very key, a large key component for us this year is that it will help guide the conversations that our principals will be having monthly, both with our fuel council and our fuel leadership meetings. Formerly, those were known as LEAD. This year, we're advancing our theme forward with 212 degrees at 1 degree. The 1 degree we're going to carry forward is being thoughtful about the data that we collect and review and knowing how we respond to the information that's provided. So we'll pause to see if you have any questions about the monitoring reports timeline.
Tell me again what the fuel means.
Yes, it's focus, understand, engage, lead.
It goes with our 212 theme. Yes, ma'am. It's our new monthly meetings with our principals. It's the name of all of our things. We're really trying to align the system and speak the same language.
You get those, pardon me, Dr. Temple? Yes, ma'am. Great question.
Oh, and sorry, it's my job. Anybody, Ms. Temple? Oh. Do you have some?
No, I'm good.
Ms. Grabowski, Chairman, or?
So how does this align with the board's annual, work plan?
So are you referring to the goals that we have for ourselves? So as the data is available and we're able to communicate it, so you can see even from the first couple of months that we'll begin to really communicate about literacy and mathematics and then climate and so on and so forth. It helps us know where we are with the board strategic plan, which is 2 years from completion.
Mhm.
And then it'll help us to know how to support that work as we progress monitor our schools in real time.
But I'm going back, still, we have a board in our policy. We have a board plan. So it's really just how is this new timeline that you're pulling up to, or is this?
So this is the same timeline we had last year, Mr. Grabowski. It's aligned with the board's plans around student achievement. So it's just updated based on when we expect results. Many of the reports are in the same month as it was in the prior year. So it's very much aligned, I think, with your monitoring of the work the district is doing. Yes, sir.
And really, when I was looking through this and trying to figure it out, I mean, I was looking more at the underperforming schools and how we're bringing them up and looking at them during the year. I mean, so how are they? What early indicators of success
Yes,
are they
sir.
building into this?
Yes, sir. So let me elevate the work that's already ongoing this summer. And I want to celebrate Ms. Roberts and her team, who carried every school through a really thoughtful data analysis protocol to review and analyze the data that they had at that moment, both in ELA and mathematics, to really begin to uncover what might be at the root cause of the achievement gap that may be existing inside the school. Then this summer, when we supported principals, we opened an opportunity for them each to create a 90-day work plan, which is key and strategic towards what are our goals as a system, how do they align to the goals of the school, and then what is the root cause behind that gap in achievement that can be then leveraged towards strategies that can help create the condition for our students to improve. So it's really those strategies that then begin to inform the progress monitoring side of that. So we're not waiting necessarily for the school, in all schools, whether you are low achieving or high achieving, all schools within the system are going to be creating a plan. They'll be due to our level leaders very soon, and we'll be giving one another feedback in our September fuel session. But that analysis that I believe you're referring to in that question, it has already begun so that we launch day one with strategies to help bring that improvement forward.
Yes, I mean, this is a lot of
So
information and numbers, but getting down to the base of what we're really trying to do.
And so, Mr. Grabowski, I think it's important too for you to remember that a lot of these goals and the rest of the board, a lot of these goals are centered on underperforming groups of students. The reading goal, for example, focuses on the gap between Black and brown children, very specifically African American and Hispanic children and white children. So goal 1, although the district goal is about all children reading on grade level before they leave elementary school, which we would hope. But by the time they leave elementary school, these goals are based on, again, gaps in student performance. And so when we bring to you, for example, goal 1, we'll really be focusing on groups of students across the system that are historically underperforming. And we'll always break down the data like that because it's important for the public to see and the board to know.
Because I think it's going to be critical, especially in audit and finance, into identifying the specific areas and coming up with the specific areas, the underperforming schools, that we're making sure that we're funding the right resources to help with this problem. And
Yes,
then
sir.
making sure that whatever resources we are providing, that we're getting something for, that they're working.
Yes, sir.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grabowski.
Oh, gosh, I'm such a winner. Chairman, Chairwoman.
Well, and to follow up with Mr. Grabowski, what I'm understanding about weighted student funding is that addresses what he was referencing, and that we will be getting updates and as Ms. Watley stated, return on investment.
You will. In fact, Mr. Prentice showed me right before this meeting a new dashboard that Mrs. Watley's going to love because it's got 98.5 colors on it.
I love it.
And yes, and we're monitoring it very closely. And as you see, it's really important to us to look at the ROI with these demographic groups because for so long, there've been very little progress, no progress at all, or a decline in progress. And we want to be very transparent about that. As you know, last year we saw an increase in all groups except MLs. So, I mean, again, we didn't hide that from you. We didn't hide that from the board. We presented it to you, and we'll continue to do that because if a $36 million investment isn't working, we need to figure out what will. So we'll be very transparent about it because you want to be successful. I want to be successful. These people, none of them, I've known them, most of them for a very long time. None of them like to fail. But most importantly, we all want our kids to be successful. And so if it ain't working, we'll figure out what does.
Ms. Watley.
I'm going to save my stuff for audit and finance.
Right. Mr. Hollenshed. Ms. Jewett. Okay.
Over here.
Did I miss? Did I
Over
miss?
here.
Yeah. Again, I don't know what I'm doing.
And I think I
Ms.
just want
Robinson?
to state where Ms. McKinney and Mr. Grabowski is because we approve such a large amount of monies. And I think what I'm hearing from Mr. Grabowski and I don't want to blindside anyone, but like the elevation schools. So they got extra. And we want to make sure that we are seeing some changes because of the investment. And so what I'm hearing, we normally get an all-inclusive report. So how could we, as our board, get information on individual schools?
So we'll provide that. We're happy to provide that to you in like a board brief. In this session, we don't typically call out individual schools, but as you know, and I appreciate that the board continues to respect that. But we're happy to break down that for you and show that to you in a board brief so you can see the schools across the district and how they're achieving. We've already got it broken down in multiple ways and multiple sheets by all kind of
Right, because
multiple
for us,
groups.
we only get
Yeah,
percentages and numbers, so we don't know.
We're happy to share it with you.
To back
There's-
up Ms. Roberson, yeah, we've asked for this at least 2 times prior.
Yeah, so it was in, last year's data was in a board brief, and what we do is we attach it there for you to look, but then you have to, and then if you have questions, you can connect with us one-on-one, and we're happy to sit down and go through it school by school with you and look where, we could even meet with your associates perhaps and talk about those things if you have questions after you've looked. But know that the associates and the principal supervisors sit down with every principal. They look at every school. In fact, this year they're closing out last year's evaluation and starting the new one at the same time, meaning the new evaluation is based on the student achievement data. So we've let the state know that we wouldn't be on time with our principal evaluations this year because we wanted to make sure our student achievement data was in before we completed them.
And
So it's really important to us to do just that, and we don't have a problem sharing that with you, and it's publicly accessible as well, but we can break it down for you, Mrs. Roberson, in ways that we look at it.
And my final question is, I know that Frierson was very successful last year in going from unsatisfactory to excellent, and the principal touted that is because she followed her 90-day work plan. Were you able to, the new principals that came on, July 1, were they able to develop a 90-day work plan?
Yes, they were able to attend the session where we began to roll that out and give them more specificity towards the plan. The plan is not created in a day. As a matter of fact, it's expected to be created with a team where there's thoughtful analysis, conversations, collaboration. And the plan's not just created and then finished. It's actually a working and living, breathing document. So our principals, new or seasoned, will get support from their associates and executive directors. In fact, we just sent them a tool today to our associates and executive directors to continue the thinking process that's ongoing. So all the principals did get access to that professional development, and we'll support them through these first months of their design.
And Mrs. Roberson, I think your question was more about, some of the elevation schools or the transformation, the acceleration schools. This year, all schools have a 90-day plan. So it's not just a group of schools, because we believe there's merit and value in all schools having a thoughtful plan around what their big rocks are and what they want to accomplish in the first 3 months of school. And so those are due to us September the 11th. And at our September 18th fuel meeting, which is our first countywide principals meeting, a lot of the time spent will be collaboration with principals and district staff on the 90-day work plans. And so we're really excited that that's something new that we're doing this year to really be thoughtful about these big pieces that we want to focus on as a system.
Okay, and so when will we find out? Last year, when they were under the acceleration school, I think like maybe 4 schools dropped off. Was that last year, a year before? When
It may have been a year before, wasn't it, Ms. Simmons? So this year we maintained the 14 schools include the transformation schools, which were led by Ms. Quinetta White last year, and the acceleration schools, which were led by Mrs. Haynes. And those ladies are working with Mrs. Simmons and Mrs. LaShawna Harris, who left her, who we were meeting with her earlier to really focus. Those 4 ladies have 14 schools on which they're hyper-focused to make sure elementary schools that the achievement of our students is accelerated.
But under the old plan as the transformation and acceleration,
Mhm.
when we get the scores this year, some schools could fall off of this 14 list?
No, ma'am.
No?
We're gonna keep the
Okay.
focus, because we've made some
Okay.
significant progress, Mrs. Roberson, great question. In schools like North Charleston Elementary, we made some significant progress, but because of the high numbers of pupils in poverty and MLs and special ed students in that school, and in all 14 of those schools, that's why they're housed with Ms. Simmons. She also supports the ML department led by Dr. Rush, and the Department of Exceptional Children led by Sherry Bell. Because there are high populations of students in those schools, we want to keep the focus on them, to keep the support where it needs to be in some of our highest poverty settings. Great question. Thank you.
I think before I finish up, Ms. Jewett, did you have a closing comment? All right. I was distracted. I was trying to find my notes. So again, going back to the monitoring report is just to be able to show the reports 1 year in advance, let the board look at them to make sure they're clear on what's being presented. There's no duplication. So I found my notes. And I hadn't had chance to review the actual detail that's in there. And I wanted to make sure things like the wellness committee is on that list, the health advisory committee, the AI committee, the parental advisory committee is on there. A legislative update that might be like, what is CCSD initiatives? Any updates from the South Carolina Department of Education, the Department of Education, so that we can get whether it's a quarterly brief or something. I guess we'll, as a board, could talk about that. And then, wow, hold on. Oh, but it's pinned to the other thing. Some other things, that also would be on there is the Read to Succeed. Is that on the list?
Some of those things are, Ms. Lieber. Let's talk more about committees of the board and how they report out under separate cover. But some of those things are, and some of them aren't. Some of those things are probably better prepared for the board and provided to the board. So let's talk offline more about the committees of the board and how the board as a whole wishes, and we'll figure out some semblance of reporting and how it's most appropriate by the board.
Yeah, and that would also go with any curriculum. I would like to have a full list of when curriculum is reviewed so that we don't have to predict it. It's all, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
So a lot of times with curriculum, Mrs. Lieber, until there's a new textbook adoption series, there's not necessarily a new adoption of curriculum. So we'll keep the board abreast of those dates and when things like that are happening. Right now, I know that we have some reproductive health curriculum that'll be up this coming year for review. But right now, we just adopted a new math series for this year, and 2 years ago was the ELA curriculum. So we hope we don't have any new math or ELA curriculum adoptions anytime soon, because we've just spent a lot of days training a lot of people. But we'll keep you abreast of that.
Yeah, specifically when the South Carolina Department of Education has, they have their, what?
When standards are updated and reviewed.
Yeah, that would be good to know that we're in alignment with that and it's on our radar.
Typical cycle for those are 7 to 8 years. So
Okay.
we'll keep you updated, but it's typically a 7 to 8 year process from the adoption of new standards to the adoption of high quality instructional materials until the next adoption.
Okay.
Well, and I take a lot of pride in trying to keep the board as updated as I can with things that I'm not even sure you want to know. But we will do our best to keep you updated on all things State Department that's relevant to your work as a governing body. So we'll work on that and make sure to pass things along, Ms. Lieber. Thank you. And we'll circle back on committees of the board and figure out what's best for you all in that regard.
Any other follow-up questions? All
I'm
right.
on Ms. McKinney's 8 o'clock time because she said if we don't finish by 8, she's buying everybody Hall's chocolate.
Oh,
So
well, now,
Keep talking.
actually, I said I only had control over the Cal meeting, not the superintendent's report. But
Word gets around, Miss McKinney.
I know.
And I give
know.
it back to the chairwoman.
So, Ms. Watley, we'll move on to audit and finance at Mr. Hollenshed's insistence.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney. Maybe we can put that initiative on the audit and finance agenda. Mr. Prentice looks up, he's like, I don't think so. Thank you, everybody. We had our audit and finance meeting last Wednesday. Sorry, I am trying to navigate this new system we have. We had several items, like 4 items, that were voted on unanimously and sent to the regular board meeting. We usually talk about all of it at the Cal, but Mr. Prentice, I think you're wanting to split it up now, or?
So policy would be anything that was approved by a quorum of the Audit and Finance Committee would go to the board for action.
Right, no,
And
no,
then
no.
the
what I'm
info,
saying-
the info items we could discuss at Cal, and then those will end here. We won't have any
You
further
still want to
discussion.
split it up to where we talk about the action items at the regular board meeting and just information items here?
I think that'd be appropriate. We can discuss the info items here, and then those won't move on to the board agenda at all. They'll end their discussion at this meeting.
Okay, I can go with that. So we had, on the information items, we had, the, Charleston County Head Start, Early Head Start, FY25 financial report. As you may remember, not long ago, the Early Head Start program had, a number of along with Ms. Foxworth coming and reporting to the audit and finance, she and I actually sat down together and had a wonderful conversation the other day about it all. And she brought me up to speed on what all happened, how the timeline of how everything transpired, and what they're doing to bring correction to that. And part of that is the monthly reporting back to the audit and finance for a greater level of accountability. We've got our 135-day average daily membership for enrollment from last year, comparing the variances. We also had our sole source and emergency procurement. I'll definitely leave that item open for questions, because I'm sure that there's probably going to be some questions surrounding that item. We also discussed the SWIMBY year-end utilization report and how the district was continuing the program, but to coming into compliance and making sure that none of our vendors are negatively impacted from the Trump administration's stance and requirements that they've put out about diversity. We also went into capital projects report. We have a number of capital projects with reallocations and an update on, sorry, I'm still trying to navigate this new system. Ms. Costello, nothing in that one really stood out to me. But the one thing that did stand out that I wanted to comment on, sorry, I am all over the place trying to, okay, here we are. The monthly financial report for the weighted student formula, we were talking about return on investment, and during our discussion about the weighted student formula and the impact that it's having on student achievement, Ms. Huggins did graciously give us a little sneak preview to the embargo data. I was really surprised at how much she shared during that. I think everybody's going to be extremely.
Roberts.
I do recall Ms. Roberts' face, like like a deer in the headlights. But I think everybody's going to be really pleased for that embargo data once it gets released publicly. We're going to see an amazing return on investment. But I also agree with Ms. Robertson. I would very much like to see some itemized once we're able to have that shared of how it impacted our most vulnerable communities. And then we went over the purchases and contracts greater than 250. There was also an item that we had an executive session. I'm thinking that maybe Mr. Prentice wants to wait to talk about that at the regular board meeting, but I definitely see that that's an item that board members are probably going to want to pay attention to.
Yes, ma'am. We'll have that on the agenda for 2 weeks from tonight, an executive session to brief the board.
Okay. All right. That kind of concludes the report, unless Mr. Prentice has something else that he wants to add.
If I could add something,
Yeah, Mr. Grabowski.
I'm gonna throw you a carrot. You really should brag about the financial numbers, the closeout numbers.
So I'll share two highlight items. I appreciate that. On the Head Start, early Head Start, just for the board's background, we shared that as a separate item this month because it includes multiple months coming into compliance with the review from the OHS. But going forward, that report will be one of the reports under the monthly financial report. So it'll be the GOF report, the WSF report, and the Head Start grant report all nested under that item, and that'll keep us in compliance. So that's the only month that that report will be shown as a separate item. And to Mr. Grabowski's comment, for a year-end closeout for FY25, we do have the month of June unaudited report out there. We're pleased to share the early results. Of course, we're still making final entries and adjustments to close out the fiscal year, indicate a small positive variance of revenues over expenditures of about $725,000, meaning that we didn't use the fund balance that we budgeted for FY25 as our projections indicated. Even though we budgeted it, the utilization of it was going to be substantially less, but due to some additional underruns in classified salaries and some additional revenues from the state, as a result of our index of tax-paying ability changing as well as enrollment, we saw a very small positive variance. So we're lining up nicely for FY26, and that kind of validates the long-range financial forecast in terms of its efficacy in projecting where we're going, with the understanding that while we did budget about half of the amount of fund balance for FY26 that we budgeted for FY25, we're also anticipating a very minimal, if any, utilization of that as the revenues continue to increase as the growth in the assessments and growth in the state revenues that we see from a recurring increase from the legislature should bode well for continuing that plan.
And Mr. Prentice, you actually reminded me of another point that I was going to make about the report on the weighted student formula, and you may want to comment on this, but there are a handful of the schools that you're going to see a negative variance on, but there's a hold harmless, and that's because of that additional funds that we gave to the teachers before we gave them the raise. Do you want to add anything else to that?
Sure. So, and the report, as Ms. Huggins indicated, will completely change for the July report for FY26 that we share in September. But we had projected about $3 million in underrun of expenditures. The unaudited shows that it was only about $2.5 million. So of the $32.8 million appropriated for weighted student funding, only about $2.5 million was left over, which was excellent for the first year of implementation. There were some schools, as Ms. Watley indicated, that had a small overrun. It was predominantly due to that, of course, the hold harmless was accounted for. So if they had a certified position, they got an extra $500 plus benefits for that certified position based on the board's decision at the end of the budget process last year. But in certain cases, if a teacher, for example, elected full family benefits, as their health care, and the employer cost went up, it did drive a little bit of an overage in terms of the variance. So we've adjusted how we average some of those projections for FY26 to keep everything nice and tight. But we're talking, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in some minimal locations. No one was irresponsible with the administration of their plan. And so I just want to call those out, that wasn't anything where we went to a school and said, "What are you doing?" It's just simply some actuarial assumptions based on how we programmed their budgets.
Okay, so
Daniel, you really don't know how to pat yourself on the back. I really need to clarify what just happened. When you think about all the meetings, all the projections, how hard Mr. Brigman jumped on us on salaries, how hard Miss Anita jumped on us for SWF, but to think about this budget, the size of its budget, and in the corporate world, that the variance is what, 0.001?
yeah, how close the
I mean,
how
that's
close the
insanely, insanely good. You
Yeah.
really, it's financially,
Nice.
this really needs to be understood. And I think it goes over everybody's head how good this district did last year and how good we're going to be doing this year. So
Really,
I really, my hat's off to you, as was said by all of the committee members.
Well, people outside of accounting probably don't realize.
well, we believe we're about to get some other really, really good news too about the district's financial state, but we'll wait to share that at a later time. But it really is exceptional that the variance was 0.00. Even recovering English teachers understand how exceptional that is from a very talented CFO and an exceptionally talented team. And again, a focus from the admin staff here on really prioritizing resources for kids. So we thank him for jumping in. He only turns red every third day now when we talk about where we need to go into the risk pool.
And I don't think that's
fund.
red from being bashful.
No, it's not. He's angry, but it's okay. He's come around. So we've you know, got him oriented to K-12 now.
So the numbers, FY '24, we said $47 million positive variance of revenues over expenditures, and we said we'll tighten that up. And so this year it was about 725,000. So we tightened it up.
I'd say so, but all of us felt that on this end of the table, didn't we, Ms. Simmons? Yeah. So anyway,
Dr. Temple, do you have anything?
I was curious, with the Head Start, there was a note that we weren't in compliance because of, board, things. So are we all in compliance now?
With that item, we are. So there were 6 findings associated with their review. There were a couple that were fiscal related, one of which was presenting the monthly financial report to the board, not just the annual report that we were doing. So this addresses one of those 6 items.
we are monitoring that close. I'm sorry, Dr. Plant, go ahead.
Those other 6 we're monitoring very closely, and we have a liaison with Head Start that meets with us to give us feedback on the suggested corrective action. So we're working very quickly to get those. For some, they were 30 days, some 90 days, some 120 days. So Kimberly Foxworth and her team and Dr. Swearingen are working very diligently to get those corrected.
Did you have anything else? Ms. Robertson?
Yeah, thank you. That was one of my questions, so I could cross that off. Mr. Prentice, normally in August, we'll have a fall tax anticipation note, none this year?
So we delayed it last year based on the assumptions that we believed we would be okay. And then at the last, towards the last minute, I think it was November, we went to the board just to be sure.
Right.
And we ended up not needing it. So based on where we are this year in consideration of all of those variables, I don't anticipate needing a tax anticipation note, but we may still bring a resolution to the board to authorize it because it's all kind of hinging upon when the Charleston County Treasurer's Office turns over that December payment. And in the event there's a timing issue, we want to make sure that we're prepared, but we don't want to issue any more than we need. We may seek the authorization, but we don't anticipate needing it based on the cash flows.
The 135, thank you. The 135-day enrollment count, we normally, Ms. Huggins, is something happened this time?
Mr. Prentice?
So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So that,
Okay.
maybe Buffy wants to comment on this a little bit further. I believe that's based on the final certification from the state. And we were waiting on some clarifying items there, I think with our charter schools. So we just wanted to present the final certified numbers.
Well, he just explained it perfectly because that's exactly what
That's
we're
why
doing.
I knew what I knew, but I didn't know if there was any more to it than that.
He said it in
Nope,
audit
that's-
finance, so that's why I threw
Right.
it back down.
I'm
So
sorry,
right.
I was looking at my
No.
notes.
You all good, Mr.
Can you repeat it? I'm sorry, I was looking at my.
Yes, it is the final counts for the 135th day at the end where we reconcile those numbers from the 45th day. We were waiting from the state to reconcile some of the charter information. It was one school, they actually coded it a little bit differently than maybe they should have, but that's all been reconciled and we're all finalized now.
Okay, and I don't know if I made this up in my head, so I was going around saying we have 55,000 students and then 50,000, but the 135 is saying we have 47 and some change?
So yes, we start out with one number in the 45th day, and what they do by the 135th, however many students you have at that point, that's how that number ends up. I mean, it's whatever it is, right? So that is correct for the 135th day. It was 47. I don't have my computer with me. I'm
Do we
sorry.
know where all of those children went?
I'm sorry?
Do we know where all of those children went?
So some students actually graduate early. So we have some January graduates or December graduates. So some of those students will leave and do that. We have students who just, go to other school districts.
That's a
Some
lot of
students
kids.
went out of country. So there are things like that as well.
And that's
It's a lot.
that's what, 4,000 or 5,000
Probably.
kids. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah, I think we
we're
talked about
actually-
that before. How do we track that?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. And my final questions, it's a group of questions. And it relates to the report that's due to this, it's the sole source. Mr. Prentice, what's the procurement code for sole source?
So that is essentially there's not a competition component, or we believe that there's not a competing, ability for that particular procurement. So the way the code reads is the director of procurement would then advertise that sole source on the SCIBO website for a period of time to ensure that there's no other interest and certify. And then based on her assertion that it is compliant with the code, with the respective procurement officer, then they execute the sole source and are essentially awarding that contract based on the terms of the code for sole source procurement. You'll see a lot of them on there are like the largest dollar volume for, I think, 4.5 million of the $9 million is to Control Management Incorporated. So a good example, proprietarily, the district uses controls management for all of our HVAC controls across the system, and another vendor couldn't come in and service those controls. And it wouldn't be prudent for the district to have multiple vendors providing services to different schools. So that's a sole source under the consideration of proprietary management. So there's different considerations like, our textbooks, based on the textbooks that were selected, those are secured through one vendor. But then there's also, exemptions in certain circumstances. So something that doesn't meet an exemption that also is not computable would be considered a sole source following that component of the code.
What's the difference of what you just said and 5230?
So 5230 would be a minority business enterprise, and the award based on there being a lack of competition and direct negotiation with that minority business enterprise. Given that there was, like, let's say we got one bid on a project and they wanted to do a direct negotiation, that would enable direct negotiation if it was a minority business enterprise. But, and we've discussed this with the board a little bit, we have to be careful with that now, depending on the funding source.
Like if it's federal funding, I
Correct.
get it. Mhm.
Correct. And we understand, obviously, that there could be some changes at the state level in the next legislative session if they follow suit with that and some of the SWIMBY requirements that we currently follow in the model code.
I guess this right here almost reminds me of the 250K list. When I think of sole source, I think of no one else could provide this service. So you're sole sourcing it to this particular organization. And when I look at this list, I see descriptions of organizations that someone else could do that work. So I'm trying to figure out how was it and why was it sole sourced?
So there would be an underlying selection tied to the code for each of those individual items, if there one in particular that you're interested in.
There are many.
Okay. So I mean, in certain circumstances, you have a designated organization that serves a geographic area.
Do we have the timer?
Oh,
No, it's
sorry.
not supposed to be.
No, but that's an interesting point she's making.
I wasn't intending to interrupt her point. Just making sure we have everything efficient. Okay.
So
Sorry to interrupt you.
in certain circumstances, you have like a designated organization like First Steps, that they don't necessarily meet one of the exemptions in the code, but they are the designated provider for that service in the Charleston County jurisdiction. So we wouldn't go use Berkeley County's First Steps in Charleston County. And so that's kind of a quick check of the box there. If there's others that we need to look into, I'm happy to take questions and provide some follow-up offline just because they would require a bit of research to go into the file. But the way the code reads is that all of these items are reported to the superintendent annually and then to the board. And you might not have seen this in years past because it wasn't actually being presented and we were getting an audit finding for it. And so this satisfies that requirement of the code to present this information to the board as information after it's presented to the superintendent. And the majority of these, it also includes emergency procurements. There's just one emergency procurement on the list, and that was executed during the network outage that we had last July.
Okay, I'll send my questions offline. Let me,
Okay.
I'm concerned because, and although we don't have to approve this, it's still taxpayers' dollars. And so that's why I asked for the public. I just find some of these, these descriptions, how do you know, is there the qualifier that you got the best price for it? You still advertise, right? You said you still advertise, but how did you come up with the one that you're going to select?
So a lot of these would be brought forward by the department that is requesting the service, and procurement would evaluate it. And so in the case of, them saying, we'd like to secure this good or service, we believe it's a sole source, or maybe the procurement says this is probably a sole source. And then they would put it out on Skibo for the designated period of time and complete the checklist in consideration of the code, and then make the award. If there was some type of competing interest based on the Skibo advertisement that was believed to be an apples to apples competition, then of course there would be a determination that maybe it wasn't a sole source and they would follow a different pathway.
Ms. Roberson, is that all?
Yes. I'll send my follow-up.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Roberson, when you do that, do you mind looping me in? Sure. Because you definitely got my, I knew this was going to be something that was a high priority for you. That's why I started down there.
Thank you.
Ms. Bailey?
I'd actually like to be included as well.
Sure.
We'll send it to all of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a question about the WSF. It was stated that we used $32 million advanced last year, and this year, is 36 million that will be advanced this year for the WSF. Okay, will that mean that certain schools will get a little bit more, or will they all get an even cut of the WSF?
So there's a little bit of a change this year. If you remember during the budget process, we switched from an allocations-based formula to a per pupil formula. And so instead of it being driven on that divisor basis like it was done in FY25, with the 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 6-to-1 ratios, we did it purely on a per pupil allocation, and there's a set amount of money per pupil within each group. So some schools saw an increase, some schools saw a decrease, and then many schools were held harmless as long as they were being, an efficient steward of spending the funds in FY25. And so going forward, it'll be based on the 45-day count for the current school year, looking into the future fiscal year on a per pupil basis. So the 36 million was distributed based on that new formula, but by and large, people were largely either held harmless or saw an increase commensurate with that. But in the future, they could see a decrease if, circumstance where they saw a decrease in the pupils allocated within each one of those student groups on an annual basis, or they could see an increase, if they saw the same trend.
And just for FYI, did you see any school that made use of their WSF funds to the point to where they didn't have a deficit, or they were all in the black?
There were several that were very close to spending every penny. And I think we'll see more of that this year, because as of this point in time, over $35 million of the $36 million appropriated has been allocated for a purpose within the school's plans, which is much earlier than we saw that happen in FY25, given how new the program was. So I think we'll see a lot more thoughtful reallocation of funds as things change throughout the year, because we really were trying to hammer home the point of this is not a staff allocation like you're used to thinking, it's money. And if you have savings in a certain project, reallocate those savings and do something else impactful with it, and continue to spend every last one of those dollars to try to impact student achievement. So I think we'll see more of that in FY26.
Thank you.
Ms. Lieber?
I guess I'm still learning how to use this tool, so I didn't get a chance to look at the majority of what y'all are talking about. What I did spend time with was the Head Start budget. And I just want to kind of emphasize that I'd really like to see maybe more parental education. Is that, I mean, I know that's
a part of Head Start. Mhm.
Yeah, and then testing. I've done some, I've shared with you some deep dive in what testing for Head Start means. Like, how thick is the vocabulary once you're done with Head Start. And then I just kind of peruse the list of expenditures on the P card. And maybe just tell me two stories about things like a $5,000 parking, which is interesting. And then this is a weird one, was the City Church of Charleston and give me a story about the positive promotion.
Ms. Foxworth, would you like to come in and address that?
I'll start with City Church. West Ashley Head Start off of 61 is a 5 classroom. And so we're really trying to increase parent engagement. And so we try to have one time a year, at least a place where all the parents can come at the end of the year. And so we utilize, that's actually our local partner. And so we use that space for our end of the year ceremony. That's the only space that one of our centers that doesn't have a school. And so we use that as a partnership. The $5,000 is we get all of our parking for the whole year. So that's probably what that was. And then positive promotions, one of the things we're working on is trying to change the culture in Head Start. And so one of the things we purchased towards the end of the year is just some positive things. We had a little bit of a rough year last year, and we just wanted to end the year promoting and being positive with the teachers. We ended the year with the last 4 months with no incidents, and so we did do some positive things for the teachers.
Awesome.
Ms. Foxworth, the newer members of the board, they weren't with us when you all did that really cool board retreat and all the games. Do you mind giving Ms. Lieber just a little bit of a background, like, for example, what ages of children are in Head Start and Early Head Start?
Sure. When we met, I kind of gave her a whole view of what early learning looks like in Charleston County. So when you're 6 weeks old, you can start in Early Head Start as long as you meet the qualifications. Early Head Start is meant for families who live below the federal poverty guideline, as well as some children with IEPs. We have 248 spots in Early Head Start, and you can be there from 6 weeks to 36 months. Then we move on. When you turn 3, you can join our Head Start program, and that's the same qualifications as Early Head Start. We have 428 of those spots, but it's the same qualifications. And then we go on to when you turn 4, you can be part of our CD or Child Development Program or 4K, whatever you want to call it. It's the year before kindergarten. And we have close to 2,000 spots across all of our elementary schools. Those slots are not federally funded. They are funded a lot through the General Operating Fund. And we do have some state funding called START-UP. And so we serve those. That's different entry, because what we're looking for is kids in CD that are demonstrating some kind of needing additional academic support. And so that's what those are. And then the third part of my portfolio is the employee daycare, which is 6 weeks to 36 months. So that kind of gives you an overview.
Thank you, Ms. Foxworthy. I do have a question for Mr. Prentice, because he spoiled us with that great budget and the way it was organized and the way that it showed how it was applied to the objective. Is that anyway, the way you organized your budget, it'd be nice to kind of see like a header of that that way I could have identified the parental outreach and such.
So you do get that in the budget document. You can see the Head Start funding program in special revenue funds, and then you can see it broken down by function and object. This is just the template that OHS wants us to present monthly by major category. So they just want a one pager of budget to actual to the governing body. And so that kind of shows by personnel, benefits, operating, capital, et cetera, commensurate with that $12 million grant award that they give us. We could run a system report to show the actuals within those categories, but the budget document has that full breakdown.
Okay, my apologies. One more question. Are we utilizing, Ms. Foxworthy, all of the spots that are available for Head Start?
I will, after next week, I will know for sure, because our first days are not till next week, and we don't count until we see the children sit down in the seat, as we say. And so I know we always have a close to 500 waiting list for early Head Start. And so I'm sure, and we only have 248 spots. So I know we'll have a waiting list there. We are, I think today my enrollment person told me there's 3 schools that we're trying to get a few more children in, but I'm confident that we'll be fully enrolled.
Do we have community outreach that could satisfy the need for the rest, all the children in the wait list?
No.
Perhaps that's what that educational foundation can help with.
No, ma'am, it is a great question, Ms. Lieber. We wish we did. A universal pre-K is ideal and is really one of the only ways to close the gap between kids, is to keep it from ever being created. And so what we've done is we are partnering with private daycare providers across Charleston County. We piloted it the first year where we saw the most significant waiting list in Mount Pleasant. And now I want to thank him, Ms. Foxworth and her team, because they really lead that work for me, working with private preschool providers on quality educational opportunities, care opportunities for kids, to make sure that in the private sector, it's more than just daycare. It's actually education. So we're trying to figure out ways that came out of our work with Dr. Carrie Wright, as you know, who led turnaround efforts in Mississippi. We consulted with her. That was part of her focus when she was there. And we genuinely believe it's the only way to really close the gap or keep it from being created. And so it's a lot of the work that Kim and her team are leading, and I'm thankful for. I think the first group's coming in September. Is that right?
Yeah, I want to add, so in my research of becoming a trustee, the École Maternelle, which is the French Head Start schools, that is a mandatory preschool or early start. And if you could imagine, France is very diverse. And through this École Maternelle, all of the students are achieving at exceptional levels. So to the public, take advantage of what is available.
Thank you, Ms. Lieber.
Ms. McKinney? Certainly. Since we have corrected the agenda and there are no policies for discussion, we will go on to other
sorry.
business.
I was calling for audit finance.
Oh,
budget
I'm
of other
sorry.
Trustees.
Sorry.
Do you have anything for audit
No,
finance?
I
Okay.
attended the meeting. I understand it all.
Mr. Hollenshed?
No, I'm fine.
Miss,
I'm keeping Ms. McKinney's timeline.
that's right, Halls, that's right. Ms. Jewett?
I had a few things. And just to confirm, we're only allowed to talk about the information items, not the,
We'll talk about
Action
the
items.
action items at the regular board meeting.
okay. Just one, question I've had, is based on just program contingency is written in a lot of the line items. Is that also fund balance, or where does program contingency go after it's?
Which information item is that in? I apologize.
It's in various reports. It'll be like program contingency, and then it'll be a certain amount, and it's usually
I think that's in the action items, probably in the reallocations. The contingency would be within that particular sales tax program. There's a designated contingency set aside when the program is adopted. And then, but for projects completed under budget, sometimes the funds can go into the contingency and shift back and forth.
Got it. But it stays within that phase 5.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I guess most of my other questions were on the other items, and then also just the single source, the sole source. As a procurement agent and back in the day, you went through a pretty rigorous process, or suppliers would go through a rigorous process to become a supplier to Boeing. In order to become a single source supplier or a sole source supplier, you had to really truly have the best pricing, have the engineering, have all of these elements in place. So I guess I also had the same question, what gives a certain person or a certain company the qualifications to be able to become the sole source supplier for CCSD? Because these contracts are huge, and, obviously the budget is great, but we can always do better. And sometimes we're needing money for other things. So I'm just, I kind of want to follow up on this and really dive into what are the qualifications that these suppliers are, going through.
So it's a little different than in a supply chain world, where you're trying to get, a certain thing, I guess. And I'm not trying to say that it's totally different, but, in the sense of like controls management, for example, we're not designating them as like a sole source vendor in perpetuity. They have to go through that process on a recurring basis, whether it be each fiscal year or after the term of the current contract expires. So they don't get like a, designee by the organization as a sole source vendor forever and for always for anything they do. It's just like in the case of CMI, that would be strictly for managing, HVAC controls for the district. But anything else that they offer that may not be sole source, they're not a sole source vendor. They just get a sole source contract for that service. And so if they came in and said, we'd also like to offer you, HVAC filter replacements, well, we could get HVAC filter replacements from a lot of different places, and that's something that we compete. So they don't get a vendor designation as much as it is, the proprietary nature of the service that they offer commensurate with the product that they're supporting, like HVAC, or in certain cases, the geographic delineation of where they provide services. A lot of times you'll see like, and I come from a world that did a lot of, like utilities maintenance and things like that. This is the South Carolina designated vendor for this product. And, therefore we have to use this brand product to support this system. And so therefore we use that vendor within South Carolina.
What's an average term that you would write a contract for one of these suppliers for?
So a lot of them are just 1 year, unless it's something that, is a longer term. Like I think the CMI one is multiple years, which I believe ties.
And it's based on the equipment we have installed there.
Correct.
The only company that supports the equipment we've installed. So when we buy the equipment, we essentially have to use that vendor. So it's locked on by the equipment we have.
You don't. I mean, I own a business and I've fired HVAC companies because they were not doing what they needed to do.
So
But
that two different designations here, just to be clear. We have companies that maintain HVAC, and then we also have companies that handle the programming and administration of the controls. So like when you walk into the building, you see the thermostats on the wall, there's a graphic matrix that designates how the controls work. So it's two different things. This is like a computer system for managing the controls versus it's not proprietary maintenance. It's proprietary administration of the graphics and the control system itself.
okay.
Is that all?
Technical difficulty. Ms. Jewett, are you done? Ms. Roberson wanted to add one more thing. I know the sole source is I knew that was going to be a hot topic.
Yeah. I'm going back to, if Ms. Foxworth can come back up, I have a question. It's a, return on investment, in question. It's easy for us to see return on investments, for facilities because the building goes up. So we know we got our return on investment. Mr. Brigman, let me give you a shout out. I really appreciated the 97% attendance policy that I think we still have to finish it off, but that's another return on investment. This is my 3rd year. We have each year we have been adding to the teacher pay increase. That was very good that you put the teacher task force together. You had a goal and we met that goal. So this 97% attendance is we are going to see the return on our investment. Ms. Foxworth, I see on the sole source that you hired a Head Start coach. Could you tell us about the return on investment for that? When I asked the question a couple months ago about kids learning to read in Head Start, you mentioned that there were a lot of behavior issues. So it was good to see that there's a behavior, a Head Start coach to address that issue. Because I was not expecting you to say behavior issues in Head Start. So can you talk about that?
Sure, that's exactly why we have that person. We're in a state cohort for Pyramid, which is a early childhood challenging behavior foundation framework. And so this person is very experienced and works particularly with young children. And so we have her, she leads our effort. That's a collaboration with us and Department of Exceptional Children that she goes in and coaches specifically around behavior. She models for the teachers. She leads PLCs around, specifically around social emotional skills. She does follow-up. We are definitely getting a return on investment for her because we are seeing, particularly the places that she's coached, we have seen a drastic turnaround in teacher behavior. And so now this year, we may not be able to have her forever. So we're really trying to put her where the needs are.
Okay. Is she at Mary Ford?
She is not.
Did you have somebody at Mary Ford that?
Mary Ford has Mary Ford has a whole community and through the WSF, I believe, has hired some social emotional supports there.
Okay, and I would like, if you could later, throughout, give us more updates on the actual changes that that's happening because of this, Head Start coach.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they'll be reporting every month now.
Ms. Watley, if I may, that's what I was going to suggest, is that we will, Ms. Roberson, and we have seen a significant increase in behaviors in Head Start. So, I sit down regularly with principals, and we've had principals on the verge of tears, and that we believe came out of COVID. And so we're doing a lot, and Kim's doing a lot. Our Dr. Coakley and Mrs. Allison and those pulled together a team and looked at that. There's significant behaviors out of Head Start. And before we move on to Dr. Temple, Mrs. Watley, if I could, Mrs. Roberson had a question earlier about ADM versus the head count, and I should have I missed an opportunity to clarify the difference between ADM and head count. Ms. Roberts, do you want to talk about? I don't want you all to think we lost 4,000 children. So Mrs. Roberts is going to come and offer a little bit of clarity, and I probably should have offered it then.
So as soon as I sat down, I said, oh, that's exactly what she's talking about. I'm so sorry. So I do think that your question was relating to the difference between head count, which is like that snapshot of students that are enrolled on on a certain day, like a specific date, right? Versus our average daily membership, which is the average number of students enrolled on any given day in those instructional days. And so one of the things I just wanted to make a point to note, the district's ADM was, and I've brought my computer so I can tell you the exact number, 47,763.13. That was a decrease of only 51.56 students under the 45th day, and was actually an increase of 523.2 students from prior year's 135th day. So we actually did increase. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. I'm so sorry. It just didn't hit me that that's what you're talking about. So I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
ADM is a bit diluted for absences. And so just like our ADM has increased, our student enrollment has increased, and we should offer clarity at the time, but we didn't.
Thank you.
Now we have. Thank you, Dr. Temple.
All right. And before I hand it back over to Ms. McKinney, Mr. Prentice, going back to the truancy conversation about the initiative that the district took, I know that that wasn't a board initiative, and I just had a final for managerial accounting. So all this talk about returning on investment tonight, I know educationally that return on investment isn't always the way that it can be misleading to make decisions that way. But I'm kind of joking, but maybe not, that maybe we should do like a buy or make scenario, like a cost volume profit analysis. Especially with like some of these initiatives, the truancy, do we buy it or do we make it or
So, and that was kind of where the attendance incentive came from, because we were analyzing the cost of strategies in the FY25 plans that were tied to chronic absenteeism, and the average cost per pupil of all of those strategies across the system was about $600 per pupil. And if you looked at the percentage decrease in chronic absenteeism tried to the efficacy of those strategies, we said, what if you could implement a strategy for a third of the cost that had, a higher rate of effectiveness in terms of decreasing chronic absenteeism. And so at full utilization of the 9-week pilot attendance incentive, it would have been $225 per pupil. But that would have required that A, every single student showed up to school 5 days a week for the entire pilot, and B, that every single student spent every dollar that they got loaded onto their prepaid debit cards. And so when you look at what the actual cost was, and we're still analyzing the data, it was about half of the maximum to see a greater increase in, the chronic absenteeism, not an increase in chronic absenteeism, but a greater decrease in chronic absenteeism within the pilot schools. So let's say $150 was what it actually cost us. The maximum exposure was 225 compared to what we were spending on human capital resources of 600. So that's where this analysis is taking us, and we'll have further report out to the board. And that information is helping influence principal decisions this year as they consider their plans when they look at ultimately what is the highest return on investment in terms of student achievement or decreasing chronic absenteeism or whatever it may be for the lowest cost per pupil, which if done well would result in them being able to stretch those dollars even further than they have without increasing the number of dollars that they get.
Well, and you haven't even included in your analysis, the long-term costs that if we don't grab a hold of them and get them engaged and inspired and educated, then we, instead of teaching them to fish, they're going to be handed fish. So, the cost on, other resources, not just CCSD, but.
I think the achievement piece of it will be very helpful too, because as Ms. Huggins indicated, just because they're in class doesn't necessarily mean that, we've solved the problem fully. If we don't see a change in the student achievement from, the pilot itself to allow that to be implemented again in the future. But you're right. I mean, there's a long-term consideration, more of an economic component of it as well.
Yeah, Ms. McKinney?
But I didn't get to ask my question.
I asked you at the first round and you didn't.
And then I raised my hand.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Given the importance of early childhood education, I would like for us to look at the data in terms of the number of students who are enrolled versus the number who are still on the waiting list, so that we get a sense of, what are the early childhood needs in our community. And then I'm hoping that as we're focused on developing the early childhood centers regionally, that we'll see that we are in fact meeting more of the needs of students, because early childhood is so important. And so I think we need to always, we can celebrate the number that are in our care, but how many more are still waiting? Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Foxworth, also to Dr. Temple's point, we kind of touched on this a couple of years ago when we were talking that with the consideration that there's just as many waiting to get in as actually make it in. I know that, and maybe, I don't know, you want to talk about this, but there comes a point where some of the parents just completely disengage and the children aren't showing up, but they still have that space.
The issues of the district around attendance are not any different in early childhood than they are in K-12. Our goal is to partner with parents early on to try to get them a good start. Not only want the kids off to a good start, but a parent off to a good start. And so one of the things we've started implementing the last couple of years is this parent compact, not a contract. So it's just an agreement between the parent, the child, and the teacher. And it just talks about the importance of coming to school. It talks about the importance of reading to their child every night. It talks about the role that the teacher's going to play. They're going to invite them in. They're going to try to make them feel welcome. They're going to try to have parent events that works for them, all those kind of things. We really are trying, because in early childhood, that's one of our key values, is that the parents get off to a great start. And so sometimes it takes a little explicitly writing it out. I will, we will do this. And so that's something we've tried over the last couple of years. And I'm hoping that, we'll start seeing some dividends come from that. We just want parents to know that this early childhood program, that this is serious, right? And that they are starting, I know they're very fortunate, especially in some of our areas, because we have large waiting lists, that I don't want them to take that for granted, because, you know, we want them to take school seriously now as well as they do when they get older. So we are doing everything we can in our CD program. And then for our Head Start and Early Head Start program, the family advocates, which there's one at every Head Start site, they work with families on goals and try to set goals that they need, whether it be employment, education goals, health goals. We have Head Start is so much more than it's academic focused, but there's other things like we also have to monitor, make sure they have a health home, you know, that they have a doctor that they go to, that they have a dentist that they go to. So all these things are what makes up high quality early childhood that hopefully will also lead to positive student outcomes. So I hope that answered your question.
Miss, can I say something?
Ms. Bailey?
I know because I'm the early Head Start liaison with Miss Foxworth and the Policy Council, that they're doing everything that they can to make families feel welcome and included in the early Head Start program. But there's only so much that they can do and no more. It's up to the parent. If the parent wants to, it's not childcare, it's early education. Their children are not just coming there to be babysat, they're being taught. And it's up to the parent to make sure that their child is there to get that education, or put something in place to where if they have a certain amount of days that they can be absent, and if they're not there, then they're moved out of the way and put somebody who's going to be faithful.
Yes, ma'am. So that's what I brought up the last time we had this conversation about accountability on the parents' part, and it was very unpopular.
So much, it's only so much that they
Because
can
we have
do.
such a limited waiting, or we have so many limited spots and we have such an extensive waiting list. Is there perhaps some sort of guardrails or guidelines when you make the compact with the parents that, you know, they're very clear that if you fail, then we're gonna unfortunately have to open up the spot to another child?
Really.
I know. This is this is where it gets really challenging.
That is something we can always consider. Right now, we just want to partner with parents. We do, particularly in our Head Start, Early Head Start program, we do monitor attendance. We do have the family advocates that follow up when they don't come. We do try to resolve, and just like in the with the truancy, trying to get to the bottom, the root cause of why they're not coming to work. Is it transportation? Is it something that we can help solve? So we do try to get into the root cause. I can't say we on the CD side that we've put any teeth into it, but we do have guidelines around like how many tardies, and then we have a protocol that the principals follow. They try to do things at the school, and then our office gets involved, and it could lead to a child being dismissed from the program, because if you're not using the spot and you're not coming, you know, we could, but we try to be supportive. Our goal is not to remove a child. Our goal is to partner with the parent to get the child in school.
Mr. Hollenshed?
I'm not going to prolong this, but I just want to compliment you. And what Ms. Bailey was saying a second ago, you really don't know what affects you until you're actually in that environment. I live in that environment. I coached in that environment. I dealt with parents in that environment. When you deal with a situation when a parent is struggling to make ends meet, and that parent has to choose between spending time with their child or keeping the lights on or trying to pay the rent, then you know what that parent's going to. So I don't want us to get self-centered about being on a parent when we really have to understand the environment that they're in. Until you actually get in there to see what's going on, you can't comment. I see that. I live that. I lived that for so many years. I used to coach kids and bring them to my house. They don't spend the weekend to get their work done so they can participate in community rec and then be a part of school. So you have to understand the job that she's doing is the best that she can. And we need to help her and support her, but then also understand we're gonna lose some in the cracks. And then we just got to figure out how to adjust along the lines. But to sit here and to say parents are not participating, You need to come with me in Shakur, Cherokee, and then see some of the people that live up in there, and you understand. Sometimes we get self-centered. When we make it, we forget the road that we walked, or we forget the people that are around us that have traveled around that particular area. Just to give you an example, like your dad.
My
Your
dad grew
dad
up
used
in
to take,
Cherokee.
but your dad used to take care of kids, you know, and bring them up. So it always is something. So I'm not gonna prolong that. I just wanted to give that 2 cents.
And Miss Bailey, I'm sorry I cut you off.
Oh, no problem. Well, only thing I have to say is this. The bottom line is the responsibility for their child coming to early Head Start. Head Start is on the parent. I've had 6 children, and my oldest is 37 and youngest is 20. I made sure they went to school, and I've had kids in school for the longest time. I've been to parent-teacher conferences, PTO meetings. Every time my teacher called me, I was there. And Charleston County's, the schools my kids were in, they can tell you Miss Bailey was there. Okay, and so we need to stop making excuses for people. Okay, if you want this resource and this tool for your child, you need to be about your business. And if you're not, then move out of the way and let somebody who will bring their child faithfully to be educated into that position, because we're spending money for children to be successful. We're spending money for children to be where they're supposed to be, not at the bottom of the barrel, but at the top. And parents, as well as the district, has a responsibility to make sure that happens.
All righty. I don't want to put any more on Miss Foxworth, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I think we've given her a big, tall order of business to
And a lot of
then
support.
report back
And a
next
lot of
month.
support.
Miss McKinney, I'm going to go ahead and hand this back over to you.
Just with Ms. Robertson's request, can we have it by district so we know kind of where within our district what the wait list looks like?
Sure, we're happy to provide that. It might be prudent to wait until enrollment, Mrs. Jewett, so you all will give
Not
us.
until-
Yeah,
Just in the next report.
yes, we'll put it in the board brief for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watley. We will move on to other business, and I will recognize Ms. Denny for A, the naming of facilities, Moultrie Middle School Gym Court.
As a point of order, and I look to our new parliamentarian on this, seeing as this appears to be an action item in moving this on to the general board, should we not first be making the motion? Because it appears as the way this is listed in the
That is
agenda.
correct.
I have a question though.
So is there a motion to advance to the August 25th, 2025 board meeting to consider the recommendation of the naming committee for Moultrie Middle School Gym Court to be named the Coach Otto B. German Court?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Now.
So, I know I'm policy liaison, but in the parliamentarian, when does this come to our agenda to be vetted, to be brought forward? Because no one talked to me about this.
It is a naming motion, not a policy motion. And that's why the agenda was corrected and
The old policy is what you're saying.
the policy which currently stands, which is June 2018.
That's point of correction.
Is that your question? And
Yes,
it's answered.
Question. I'm wondering if we could take all 5 of these as one.
You certainly could.
Yeah, as a collective group.
Instead of going-
Dr. Temple is asking for a friendly amendment to the motion.
Right.
Want to state it?
And I would accept it.
It's me, but
Amendment.
if you
and
all would
group
like
all
the
5
committee
together.
of the whole chair to chair the meeting, I would appreciate a voice. I love participation.
So you want to go through each one?
No, sir. I'm about to recognize Dr. Temple.
Calling order.
All right.
Dr. Temple?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a friendly motion that we handle 5A, well, I guess it's
6A.
6A, 6B, 6C, 6D as all together instead of voting on them separately.
As I understand, the motion is a motion to amend the main motion, which is now under debate. And her motion would be to take up all 5 renamings at one time. That
Yes.
motion to amend would require a second.
I second it.
Okay.
And the chair would then announce the motion as amended.
So the motion amended, as amended, is to take up item 6A, 6B, 6C, and 6D as one item. Is there discussion? Do you want the presentation from staff regarding these? Any questions?
Just one quick question.
Sir?
How do these names come up? I'm just curious.
I will let staff answer your question. Ms. Denny?
Yes, sir. So the motion for the Moultrie Middle School gym was originated by a community member. The motions at both West Ashley High School and School of the Arts were originated by staff members. And the renaming for the Ladson Primary School originated by district staff as well.
Thank you. I'm just curious to find out when y'all gonna do the right thing and name the gym in West Ashley after Katrina McLean, the first young lady.
Well, I'm sorry, that your statement is out of line.
It ain't out of line. That's the question.
We are discussing the motion on the floor.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there other questions about the amendment?
I do. Does that mean we're going to discuss it at the same time or just vote on it at the same time? I'm a little concerned or a little.
We are voting on all of them together, but if you have questions on individual namings, you may certainly ask staff for clarification if the attachment was not clear for you.
I guess before I vote on that friendly amendment, I'd like to hear any disagreement to what's being voted on.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
At this
Please
time-
speak up.
Sure. At this time, the debate would be solely as to the joinder of all of the school renamings as one item.
Okay.
That does not necessarily mean that they all have to be voted on together at one time. So once the debate on the amendment is over, you would then vote on the motion as amended, which would be to take them all up at one time. Okay? Once that, we'd have to see how that vote goes, and then we'll go to the next step.
Okay.
So then.
In discussing the motion to amend, basically all, as I understand we're doing, is moving this on to the board meeting. And then at the board meeting, each one would require debate and an individual vote. All we're doing right now is moving this forward to the board meeting.
Forward to the board meeting.
All 5 will go forward to the board meeting. If
Right.
we vote
To amend.
to move forward.
And they're just 4.
Or 4, sorry. So we're not voting for the name changes.
No.
That is correct.
No.
We're
We're
just
voting to move,
to
So they can
to
move it out of
move
committee.
them into
For
the
the
board
first
meeting.
reading.
not for the first reading. This is
I-
policy.
I did.
Can I still?
Have a question?
I just am, I'd rather hear the discussion before I vote on your friendly amendment. I mean, I'm gonna, I guess, be voting no on the friendly amendment because I'd rather hear the discussion to know whether people agree with all of them before that motion is approved. Do I still not understand what's going on?
Right.
Right, you just do it like that.
Trying to have us be efficient.
Correct.
Rather than individually sending each of them to the board meeting, we would send them all to the.
We're,
board meeting at
we're
the-
voting to
in
send all
one
four.
vote. Yes. instead of individually saying, okay, this one can go to the board meeting.
Correct.
Now this one can go to the board meeting.
Yeah,
Okay. For vote and discussion. We'll discuss and vote then.
yeah.
Okay.
At the board meeting.
So Ms. Bowles, would you like to read back for confirmation from the parliamentarian what our vote is?
6C, as one item.
Move forward. To move forward to the board meeting on, do we need to be August 25th? We don't want it to be sometime next spring.
So if there's no further debate,
No,
then
in, no further debate.
so-called consolidate would be appropriate at this time to vote.
Okay. And I don't know if this software lets us edit the motion once she's typed it in. So does it?
Just my apologies. Does that mean that when it gets to the general, it'll be the same motion, or at that point we'll divide them up into 5?
Amendment passes, then there would be a vote to send all 4 to the next board meeting.
Yeah.
But at that board meeting, will it therefore be the motion that all 4 of them will be approved at the
No,
same
ma'am,
time?
it would
Okay,
not.
that's my
It's just to
clarification.
get them before the board as a one, instead of taking each one up individually and voting, to send that item to the board, send that item to the board, send that item to the board.
Okay, all right.
We probably spent more time discussing the parliamentary
Yeah.
procedures than if you'd just taken them up one at a time. But anyway, so.
Is it getting late?
the school board.
I love sausage, but I don't like to see it made.
He's waiting to use that line on us.
Didn't take long, did it?
Yeah, do we get to vote?
Do we have?
Five 2025 board meeting.
Yay.
It's a lot for you to say. Yes, ma'am. I love sausage, but I don't want to see it made. I agree.
Stand-up comedian we hired, huh?
And
Wait a
the-
minute,
Somebody didn't vote.
that
They did it.
one, no. I got a window that popped up. But it's not what we're voting on.
No, that's
The other
the
business.
previous motion.
It's the old item.
That's not the new one.
Oh, yeah, this is the motion to adopt the
That was the agenda.
agenda. So we're
No, I haven't
working out our
heard.
technical
The
difficulties.
window that I got was that. I didn't get a window for a vote.
Yeah,
Okay, there we go.
there we go.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we probably had.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't think.
And the
Mr.
motion
Prentice
passes
got the same thing I got, too.
unanimously. Okay. So now that the amendment, so we're good.
The
August
debate on
25th?
the motion as amended, which would be to send all 4
the
to the next.
Motion as amended passed unanimously. So now we may go on to our,
Main motion as amended.
yes, thank you. So we may now go on, right, with our agenda?
You still need to vote on the main motion, which was to send now
Yeah.
all 4 items to the next board meeting, because you just voted on.
Oh,
the
to
motion amend the main.
Okay.
Okay. So is there a motion? Oh, we've got the motion.
You got the motion.
Any further debate?
Is there any further debate on the main motion? Now the amendment has passed. Okay.
Can we voice vote and let them deal with it? Be okay with that?
Yes. Maybe you'd like to make a motion.
Well, I feel like if we work our kinks out tonight, it's gonna help us at the board meeting.
But we're not going to talk about the names at all.
No, not tonight.
At the board meeting.
No, not tonight. That's what the motion.
So we're not going to even talk publicly about the people for us to make it to the board.
We
meeting.
will at the board meeting,
Yep.
and if you will read the attachments, you will see all the reasons and all the input.
Somebody else name. It's not, it's not true. It's three schools.
So I'm not sure this is the motion that was made. I mean, the motion that was amended had to do with the Moultrie Middle School gym.
So
It
I
was
think
amended, however, to include the other three.
it just showed up on the first item because it was item A that was currently being discussed. I think that's just a system thing. That
Okay,
it showed up under A, so then motion B will show up under the second item, which will be the main motion. It doesn't change the intent of what you're doing. They just had to select an item in the system to place the motion on.
So we will consecutively vote yay 4 times. Is that what you're saying?
No, the next vote that'll come up will be the final action, the motion as amended. It's just happening on the second item because there was an A motion and then a B motion. It just has to go somewhere in the system. So you made a motion to consolidate the items. That was approved unanimously. And I'm not the parliamentarian here, but I'm just talking from the system standpoint. And then the next motion is to vote on the main motion as amended. So it'll show up as item B, because obviously now A
motion
through
to
D have
remove
all been
the main
consolidated.
motion
Yep.
is amended.
It's up in it's in the text. You'll see it. Yeah.
We're sorry that the system's new the night before school starts.
Well,
Sorry, trustees.
we had to
At some point.
introduce it at some
Yes,
point.
ma'am.
All right, and the motion carries. Final order of business, and it's my apology that we've got 5 more minutes, but I will read as fast as I can.
Oh, good, Ms. McKinney.
So this would be other business 6E. Reporting for out-of-state meeting. June the 25th through the 27th, I attended the School Boards for Academic Excellence Summer Break Conference in Cincinnati, Ohio. I had planned on just 2 minutes for this report. I wrote the report. It was much longer, so I edited the report to include only summaries of some sessions rather than all. I did grow from being with people across the country and hearing many different ideas. Some ideas I would challenge and some I would confirm. In session 2, there was a presentation by Jordan Adams about instruction based on the science of learning and cognitive science. He said, be explicit, be teacher-led, and be formative. 3 steps for teachers to help accomplish this are review, reform, and then implement. The goal being to store knowledge for the long term and optimize short term to learn new things. He encouraged raising public awareness of how schools do teach, give teacher training in the science of learning methods, have teacher observations with a coaching plan, encourage the major colleges that train district teachers to cover what is needed to be a teacher. His next session was classical education, embedding time-tested elements in public schools where it fits, in a magnet school named for such, or just a classical track in a willing school. Highlights of that are teachers instructing an entire class at once, focusing on memorization, reading entire classics and not excerpts, abundant questioning, writing, and Socratic discussion. Dr. William Hughes' topic was board superintendent relationship and management. Here's a few takeaways. Confirm that your superintendent has a professional support group. The superintendent and board need to be a team working together, ideally demonstrating a collaborative effort. Avoid micromanaging. Create a culture of care. Ask your superintendent what he or she needs. The superintendent and board should decide on goals and guardrails together. Prioritize spending to focus on achievement. All involved should ask what is best for students. 2 sessions followed with Dr. David Steiner from the Johns Hopkins Institute for Education Policy. His first session was on literacy, in which he suggested we may need to change the phrase learning to read to reading to learn. He emphasized content matters, thus we need high-quality instruction materials, emphasis on the science of learning, and gained knowledge to build ELA. Teachers should challenge above grade level at times, open windows to what is new. Don't lose sight of the gifted and talented while focusing on low performers. Classrooms should be visited. Observe. If a teacher asks and answers the question, the students are not learning. We overtest in America. Less assessment testing and more content testing. Successful professional development is an expert observing a teacher and giving feedback about what to change and what to keep. Let teachers record and evaluate themselves. Standards should drive instruction. Are your state standards too low, too high, or appropriate? Improvement won't happen without intervention. The concluding talk was Jordan Adams, entitled Curriculum, Better Teaching Materials. He addressed state standards are usually the base of what is to be learned. Reach for the top. Talk to and listen to your student advisory committee. Is there too much screen time? Do you use your textbook? Do you use your school library? Would you prefer paper and pencil or screen evaluation? And on and on. I will say I learned a great deal about the role as a trustee, serving on the Carolinas Academic Leadership Network Board and its South Carolina Advisory Board. And I appreciate that opportunity to learn for the sake of education in our district and the opportunity to attend a challenging 3 days. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting?
I so move.
Second.
Favor?
Did I hear a second?
Yeah, I think we're all stunned that it's not 10 PM. Well, not yet.
And I will turn the gavel, cow adjourned. Mr. Grabowski.
We get into the next meeting.
Have to go out by the arrow. That little arrow to the left and then go back.
I'd like to call to order the August 11th, 2025 Board of Trustees Special Called Meeting. First item up is item 1B, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
The move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted as written, posted. I'd like to move on to item 2A, which is a motion to convene into executive session to consider items covered by attorney-client privilege. The motion, the question for the courts is the motion to convene in executive session to consider and receive legal advice on matters involving proposed contractual arrangements, student placement, pending or potential legal claims and/or matters covered by attorney-client privilege. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are in executive session.
It just gets a little confusing to me seeing lawyer-client privilege, because that's not.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to reconvene into open session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in open session. On to item 5A, which is an out-of-county transfer request. Do I have a motion?
I move to decline the request for the out-of-county resident to be enrolled in CCSD.
Do I have a second?
Or Mr. Whoever, doesn't matter.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. On to 5B. There's a motion for out-of-county transfer request to Butte Academy. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the attendance for the out-of-county student with tuition waived, but transportation provided for the student.
Yep. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. On to item 5C, foreign exchange student request. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept the application for the exchange student to be enrolled into Wando High School in the 12th grade for the entire 2025-2026 school year.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. On to closing items. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meetings?
So moved.
We are adjourned.